Whole sports all plays. Yeah. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Whole sports all plays.
Welcome to the college breakdown on the All Sports All Place channel. How y'all doing this morning? I'm doing very good. My name is Ray Cruz. I am your host for today's show, and Coach Dante is usually with me for the last week. He will be on momentarily. We got everything rocking and rolling here. We got a college conference championship week. This is where we at. That's where we are coming from. We are coming from the college football championship week. And we had two games yesterday. We had the Oregon Ducks and the Utah Utes, and Utah destroyed Oregon again. Almost exact same score was 2 weeks ago when they played. Oregon did get 10 points, and Utah did gain 4 more points at 38 this time. So it was a 28-10 beatdown for that game. And then UTSA won their game against Western Kentucky. Let me bring up that score real quick here. So we look at it here. Yes, it was UTSA 49, Western Kentucky 41. That was an exciting game there. That was probably the best game of the night right there. Oregon 38-10. So, I mean, that was a beatdown. Utah basically did the same thing. They what can I say? They beat them down big time. It's nothing too much you could say about this butt down whooping. I mean, Utah's more physical than Oregon, and Oregon didn't adapt anything. Brown looked frustrated at quarterback. He was pressured. He threw the ball away. He made some involved passes. Brown made that one pass from the sideline. He should have gone out of bounds. He tried to force one in there. They picked it off. They kicked the field goal at that time to make it 24-0. And I mean, it's just, and from all that was just downhill. I mean, once they got Brown rattled, I mean, the whole Oregon offense wasn't. They didn't play up to their potential like they did last week against Oregon State. So when you looking at the Ducks, if a team is playing the Ducks, you have to be more physical on the Ducks, and that's how you beat them. And that's what they did the last two times they played physical on the Ducks. And that was just a horrible, no change of game plans for Oregon. They went out there and ran their stuff, and their stuff didn't work. They didn't try to put any wrinkles into it. They tried to do what they did last week, 2 weeks ago. That didn't work. And Utah's game plan from 2 weeks ago worked. They still played the same game plan, played pleasure. But the only thing is the quarterback ran a little bit more for Utah. So that was the downfall. That game was just horrendous. I don't know what to say about that game. I thought that game was going to be good. I thought it was going to be more intriguing. I thought the revenge factor for Oregon, and it just wasn't there. It wasn't there. And that's the only sad part about the whole ordeal if you look at it here for this. That's really sad. Display of coaching. Coaching didn't have them ready. Oregon's coach did not have them ready, and rumor mills out there that Cristobal, if Miami does fire Manny Diaz, Cristobal is going to be the front runner for it. He is a alumni for Miami, so I mean it's just going to be a display of if he's going to stay in Oregon or if he's going to go down to take his thing to Miami. But I mean, if he brings that same offense down to Miami, ACC teams are a little bit more physical aspect too. So I mean, he's still not going to get away from the physicality. Does his offense work in the ACC? Will he bring the same offensive type into the ACC? You know, it's going to be some developments here, the next couple of weeks and stuff like that when we see coaches being fired at the end of the season and then going into the next season. You know, if he does leave Oregon, is that a rumor that Chip Kelly could leave UCLA and go back to Oregon? We had very much success at Oregon, and it could be back to the Flying Ducks again. That's what I think the changes is in the last few years. The changes went from Chip Kelly, who did great, went to Philadelphia Eagles after that, stint in the NFL, and then that program was up there, but it's still not up to the competitive. I mean, Utah went out physical with some of the Chip Kelly's teams. Chip Kelly probably would have had some game plan a little bit different for this next meeting. I mean, you played them 2 weeks ago, and you played the exact same game plan, and the game plan is not working. I mean, we got to have physical. Thibodeau, they took him right out of the game. He made some good plays, and Swell made some good plays, but other than that, I mean, they just didn't have to find. I mean, they picked up. I mean, they had turnovers. They picked up interceptions, but they couldn't turn them into points. They couldn't turn those turnovers into points. And Utah, once again has done everything he did. He turns their turnovers into points, and that's what separated this team and separated the game. I mean, the downfall was when you got down 14-0. You played a pretty good defense, and then all of a sudden you get them. They get them 20-0. And then you picked up a field goal at the end, to go up, and I mean it was just totally classically. Oregon didn't come to play. Oregon wasn't ready. The coaching staff didn't have this team ready. The quarterback was, you put pressure on Brown, he turns the ball over. He's got to learn how to be under control and pressure. That's the thing. That's the thing right there. I mean, it's under control. I'm sorry about that. I had some technical difficulties there, but I mean, if you look at what you were talking about here, Oregon got manhandled big time, and the quarterback got really really big time. I'm Ray Cruz. I am your host. Sorry about that. We had a little bit of technical difficulties. Got it all worked out of my engineering skills. So, but I mean, if you look at this game was horrible. Uh, it was supposed to be up for the Pac-12 conference championship. It looked like Oregon should never been there. That's the that's just the play. That's the place. So sympathetically, that's what we're talking about right there. We're talking about some contusions, some downfalls um, for this team. I mean, this is some downfalls here and stuff like that. So we have to keep this alive, and some intriguing points, and where we looking at here for Oregon. I mean, for Oregon, hold on, I got definitely got some technical difficulties here. So, hello. All right, we're back. All right. Yeah, I gotta get closer to the mic here. Something's going on with my mixer here today. Sympathetically, we looking at this, talking about, how this thing is, working out and stuff like that. But I mean, if you look at Oregon, Oregon just got manhandled, got physical out. I mean, it's everything is just, not to play bad with this, but I mean, it's not where we are symptomatically thinking about Oregon, to be in a physical team, but Utah was really, really physical with them, and I showed in this ball game. This ball game was just ferocious. I mean, if Miami, Miami's thinking about Cristobal coming down there, if he brings the same style of offense down in the ACC, this is going to be really, really bad for Miami. Be a bad hire, but even though he's an automotive down there, he went to Miami. He was a good player at Miami, but still, you're looking at the ferociousness of the physical nature of Utah, and that's going to be really bad. It's going to be really, really, really bad for that. But if he leaves, if Manny Diaz does get fired in Miami, he does come down to Miami. Does that leave room for Chip Kelly going back to Oregon and turning back that program back to where he had it before he left to go to Philadelphia? That would be the head coach of the Eagles. That's another thing. Even though he's sitting down in UCLA, because you got Lincoln Riley now coming down to USC, and now the recruiting is going to be even harder for UCLA because if Lincoln Riley gets what he wants, he's going to probably take most of the good recruits out of California, and that's going to leave slim pickings for Chip Kelly in there. So if I was Chip Kelly, I would go back if Oregon's job come back open and they come down calling. I'll go back to Oregon because he had a lot of recruits come out of California, but playing with got the Oregon pedigree, behind him. So that gives him a little bit more edge, a little bit more edge and stuff like that. So if you look at certain situations and certain things here in these next few weeks of the coaching carousel coming up. I mean, you look at some of the stuff you got. We said last night on the College Breakdown special show. Um, before the Oregon game and stuff like that, and we talked about that. We talked about some of the coaching stuff. I mean, UConn, Jim Morris coming up in UConn. How's that going to work out? The former US UCLA coach. I mean, he did pretty good at UCLA for a couple of years, and then he fell apart, and then he got rid of him. So is his coaching style going to come back and be the thing of what we're talking about? USC got rid of Clay Hilton, you know, picked up Lincoln Riley, you know, the Oklahoma head coach after Bedlam, he left. He left his team high and dry in Oklahoma, and when I mean, how's his fans, how's his recruits going to respect him? I mean, he didn't give his team, he gave his team a few minutes. You know, how's that going to be respected? How's that going to be respected? For him. So that's another thing that you got to talk about here. Another thing that we're talking about. Also, you got Georgia Southern and Clay Hilton. That's going to be a thing. So I'm gonna pitch it over to a commercial break real quick. I got to work on some of those technical issues I got going on. So I'll be right back.
This is the Fonx D Streaming Network.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. Sport all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays, network. All sports, all plays, network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
What did you say?
I said Kobe Bean Bryant has been overrated ever since he passed away.
Now, I'd say they could lose about 4, but I don't see them losing 5. You know what I mean?
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
Welcome back to the college sports program. College Breakdown on the All Sports All Plays Network. How y'all doing this morning? Try to work out some little bit of the technical issues I got going on here. I'm just trying to see how far I can sit back from the mic, so I'm trying to get that first without any background noise coming in on today's show. So let me get this stuff straightened out here. Got some really bad issues here. Let me see if I can get this gain here. All right, is this good now? Hello? Okay, I'm not getting some good feedbacks here. Let me just go some here. All right, let's see here. I'm trying to work out this issues while we got going on right now, so stay with me. Got a little bit of problem going on here. So hello, testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Can you hear me now? Testing 1 2, testing. All right, there we go. I think I got everything worked out here on my end. So let's get back to the show here. I'm sorry about that. Working out some issues here with my mic. So I can back up a little bit here off the mic a little bit here. Let me get this to straighten out here. Let me see here. So let me work on here. So we had some mic issue here this morning. Something I can't help. Let me see here. Okay, can you hear me now? All right. Please, somebody in the chat room, please hear me. Yeah, I'm not putting them on there. Still got some Twitch people putting some stuff on here that, coming across that you want to be famous and stuff like that. That's irrelevant for the show here today. Anyway, let's get back to this coaching stuff we're talking about here. Georgia Southern hired Clay Hilton, the former USC coach. We don't know how that's going to work out at Georgia Southern for that. Clay Hilton, way he did at USC was a very good coaching job and stuff like that. So LSU, Brian Kelly comes out of Notre Dame. The way he left his team also was not very professional. The way he went down to Louisiana, and if you heard Brian Kelly's thing on virtual talking, he went with a Southern accent. The guy is from Massachusetts, and he went down with a Southern accent at LSU to talk to the fans at the basketball arena the other night. If you heard that, that's very outrageous. If you look at that, it's very asinine and trying to fit it right into the Southern style. So he came in and had a Southern accent on his thing when he was at the basketball center the other night. He went virtual. If you've really seen that. So that's another thing. Washington State guy, Jake Dickert, I think that was probably a good hire there. We'll see in the near future how this worked out with Washington State. I mean, Mike Leach left, and then, Nick Rolovich, his issues at, Washington State, and then now you have Jake Dickert coming in, and we're going to see how his tenure goes. Texas Tech at Wells left and then got fired. And then Joey McGuire is taking over. And then TCU, Gary Patterson, after 20 years, agreed to leave TCU after 20 years. Sonny Dykes comes over from SMU. So that's a good hire there also. Akron, Tom Harth is out, and nobody has replaced him yet. Walt Bell from UMass was out, he got fired out. Don Brown took over that job. So we're going to see how these hires are going to work out here. Washington, Jimmy Lake's out. Kalen DeBauer is in. FIU, Butch Davis is gone. Waiting for a head coach to be coming there. No replacement there. Virginia Tech. Justin Fuentes is out. Brent Pryor coming out of Penn State, the defensive coordinator. He was also one of the coaches under Bud Foster and Frank Beamer at Virginia Tech. So he's got a little bit of prey at Virginia Tech. So we're going to see how that works out for them also. We got at Florida, we got Dan Mullins is out. Billy Napier coming over from Louisiana. He has done a very good job at Louisiana. I think the Lincoln Riley story that spawned LSU really hampered. I think Billy Napier could have been a little bit better thing because he's already been in Louisiana. He could have gone to Louisiana State University and probably pick up some recruits because he's well known in Louisiana. So that could have helped out LSU. But as Lincoln Riley spun LSU, and then Florida came in and actually picked him up and got a good hire there. So that's a good hire from Florida. We're going to see how he can recruit in there because you got to understand about Florida recruiting. Florida has a school probably about 45 minutes down the street from them, and I think it's in Braden, Florida. IMG Academy. That's a very high talented football school. Big recruits go there for basketball and football. It's a private school. I think Danny Waffle, the former Florida Gator quarterback, is the person who's running that school. So I mean, that's got to be really a very systematically thing we were talking about here in this thing. So if you look at it here, if you look at the way this school ING is structured, I mean, they could have had some good recruits, some good wide receivers to come out of there. Didn't go to Florida. They went to Georgia, went to Alabama. Had one recruit that was supposed to attendedly was going to go to Florida. He changed his mind during the recruitment before Dan Mullen even left. He changed his mind and reversed and went to Georgia. So I mean, if you look at that systematically issue that we have here, Florida is not getting the 4 or 5 star recruits anymore. They getting lower born. So Napier is going to have to go to that school and really, really, really sell Florida to try to keep some of the in-state recruits here in Florida to get them back to where they need to be as a top contender school like they once were with Urban Meyer and all that. They haven't been there for the last few years. I thought Dan Mullis was going to be the one to come and bring them back, but Dan Mullis did not succeed. He did not show anything. So I mean, that's something that you gotta deal with. You gotta come back with some good barometers and get some good recruits here for Florida. And and the only way you can compete against Georgia and Alabama, you're gonna have to keep some of these Florida recruits in the state of Florida, and that's the problem. You have other schools coming down and dipping into the Florida recruits because I mean here the people, Florida people are considered their recruits are considered being a little bit faster, and you got embedded Texas. Texas is a football state, and then out west you got California, who's a big top recruiting area for people, and so if Lincoln Riley can keep them in California, then you go see USC program go up, and then Texas got to start back getting into Texas too. And so, I mean, there's going to be some issues, and Billy Napier, he can probably dip into some Louisiana people and get some out of there to come to Florida, around that area. So, I mean, Florida's going to have to be an embed of recruits, and they're going to have to get back into the recruiting game. That's going to be the issue that we see for our last few times here for Florida. I mean, that's what the fans are looking for. They got to keep the hometown recruits, and that's really hurting Florida right now in recruiting. Louisiana, Billy Napier is at Florida. They have now hired a replacement for them. New Mexico State, Doug Martin's out. Jerry Kill, and we know about Jerry Kill's health issues. Hope he's doing better. He was at the University of Minnesota. He's the one that had a lot of some issues on the sidelines during games. So I just hope his health is in a better condition. We're praying for him and make sure that and he's going to be at New Mexico State. Troy, Chip Lindsey's out. John Summerall's in. I don't know how good that hire is going to be yet. Still got a lot of questions. Can he bring? Troy was a little bit of some upset history in for the university. So we're going to see how that does. Louisiana Tech, Skip Holtz is out, and Sonny Cumbie, the offensive coordinator, I think he used to be for TCU under Gary Patterson. He's now taking over that job. He got hired there. Sonny Dykes, he left. He's going up to TCU. So I mean, he's just leaving SMU, which is in Texas. He's leaving, Southern Methodist University, going up to TCU, to Texas Christian University in Fort Worth. So he's just he's staying in Texas but going. So I mean, he's going to take some of his recruits probably out of Texas that he's got going to SMU. They might see them start flipping and go to TCU. So that's going to be a good thing right there. I think TCU made a good hire there. SMU made Ray Lashley. I think that he was the Miami offensive coordinator. I think he's going to probably I think he's probably going to do a better job than what Manny Diaz did at Miami down at SMU. So we'll see how that does. Nobody has replaced Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. At Temple is Ron Carey's out, waiting for the replacement. Dave Cutcliffe is out. We're waiting for a name head coach there. Fresno State, Kellen DeBoer, he took over at Washington. So Fresno State has not hired a new coach yet. Notre Dame Notre Dame, Brian Kelly, and Marcus Freeman. He's been named as the head coach. I think he's 29 years old. I think that could be a good hire right there. You got a lot of thing for Notre Dame is they're not a typical where NCAA your minimum score has got to be 700 for a student athlete scoring on the SAT for them to come. But Notre Dame's a more of a restricted academic school, so that 700 doesn't cut for Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's minimum, I think it's 950. I think, and that's got to be you got to come there. You got to be it's a different kind of breed of recruiting at Notre Dame. So that's gonna be a little bit of shot right there for Notre Dame. You got a young coach, 29 years old. And sometimes people say Notre Dame is a stepping stone, but when Lou Holtz was there, that was not the case. It was not a stepping stone for coaches. And Brian Kelly was there for a long time. He had some success in there. So I mean, that's gonna be a little bit of thing. So let me go ahead and let me add my co-host in here, Coach Dante. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing? My bad, I'm late, man. I forgot. I forgot it's 9 your time over there. It's only 8:30, but my bad, man. I'm late. I'm doing great. Right.
Yeah, we just talked about the different coaches here. Okay. Like we talked about, I'm on the Notre Dame coach, and Marcus Freeman, who's now been named the head coach. He's 29 years old, and Notre Dame's got a different breed of recruiting. So how that's going to affect? I mean, he's young enough to relate some of these recruits. I mean, he's 29 years old, so how would that translate in Notre Dame getting some recruits?
I think Notre Dame, I think you got to be very smart, like you said yesterday, to be in that school. But also, Notre Dame is a school that he can attract guys. He can attract kids to come there, and he can attract students to come to Notre Dame. He can recruit pretty decent, and plus the program is very familiar with him. It's very good. They always have very formidable foe in a part of that coaching staff. But he was a defensive coordinator, and this team is going to be competing for years to come, even though it can very hurt them down the coming stretch in these up and coming games. The New Year's Six bowl game, or if they get into the college football playoff, I believe is going to take a toll on them. But you got a familiar face there. He's the defensive coordinator there. He shouldn't have no problems getting some recruits there, get some recruits to come. And I'm just interested to see what they what Notre Dame is going to do from here on out, and how he's going to coach.
Yeah, I understand that too. And right now we got some teams that are like Louisiana don't have a coach, Oklahoma don't have a coach, Temple don't have a coach, Duke don't have a coach, Colorado State don't have a coach now, and University of Virginia, he's going to be gone at the end of the season. So how's that difficulty for the teams that don't have a head coach right now and try to go out and recruit?
It's going to be very difficult especially for teams if you don't got a head coach. If you got a head coach right now, to sell some of the recruits on what you're trying to do and what they're doing, it's going to be very difficult if they don't got a head coach. If they don't got a head coach at this point, that's why it's so important to go ahead and try to get you a head coach so you can start the recruiting process. So it's going to be very difficult for you for any team that doesn't have a coach in the program right now to recruit.
Right, and I mean it's just college football is so a priority right now, and this time of year is all NFL get that Black Monday, after the playoff, regular season and playoff starts and stuff like that. They got after the NFL season, they got what you call Black Monday for all the coaches to be fired. So college football is like a a job, but also you got to find the right pieces. So out of these teams that hired coaches, which team do you think that has got the right pieces in place to make a run at their new school?
I think Notre Dame. Much as I don't like them in the college football playoff scenario, I think Notre Dame still set up to be in a great situation. They play in an independent league. They don't play in a legit conference like that. So I think they're set up. I think they're still set up, even though Coach Kelly has gone and added the defensive coordinator there. I think they're still set up to be a pretty good football team. I mean, I think they're still going to be talented. One thing you ain't got to worry about Notre Dame lacking it is the quarterback situation. So I think Notre Dame is still set up to be straight.
Yeah, I think so too. And he's a familiar face because he's still there. He's been recruiting there, since Brian, his first year. This year was his first year as a defensive coordinator there. So I mean, he's got a familiar face. He knows the area. He's been recruiting, so he's got his name in that region. But now for Notre Dame, they got to go out in the national scene. And how does his name prefer in the national scene? That's going to be the question there too, because you got to bring in some national recruits also.
Oh yeah. But I mean, it's like I believe he can get some national recruits still, some 5-star guys there. I still believe he can do it. Notre Dame is a top program in college football. So I think, but like I said again, you got to be smart. You got to be smart academically, probably to be at Notre Dame again. So I just believe that Notre Dame he can still be able to draw the 5-star recruits and stuff there. And one thing Notre Dame never lacks is at the quarterback probably situation. So I still got faith in him, this guy, that he can get some top recruits up in there. Notre Dame is a great school. They're great at football, and they're pretty competitive at basketball too. They got a competitive basketball program as well. So they kind of competitive all over. So far as being a part of that championship picture every year, they're still going to be a part of that. But if I'm seeing them winning it, I don't think I'm going to see them winning a championship anytime soon. It's like as soon as they get to the playoffs, like we all been saying, they kind of overmatch as soon as they get in.
Yeah, that's another thing too. With this, these days, and Lincoln Riley, he's got that cesspool out in California.
Yeah.
Now, my question is to you: I've seen some rumors going around, and the Oregon head coach is rumored to take over the Miami job once Manny Diaz does get fired. If he does get fired, we're waiting for the new AD down in Miami to come if they're going to keep him or not. And so now the question is, if he goes to Miami, do you see Chip Kelly falling back into Oregon?
Nah, I think I see Chip Kelly staying in UCLA. But if this is Chip Kelly last year in UCLA, I definitely can see Chip Kelly back in Oregon. But right now I see him at UCLA. And like I say, I just feel kind of bad for Oregon, man. I mean, for what I saw last night, it just made me sick to my stomach. But I'm assuming we're going to get to that game more later.
Yeah, well, I started off the show talking about it, but I'm going to get your inputs on that because – we can go from there now to that game. Back to that game. So if you look at it right now, Oregon did not change their game plan whatsoever. Utah didn't change their game plan. It was physical. Utah won the physicality. And I think the point of that game was when Brown, that one play I think really set Brown apart and got him off key, was that rollout to the sideline before he went out of bounds. He threw the ball in the interception. So, I mean, if you look at it here, Oregon's just got manhandled twice in physicality. So it shows that you can beat Oregon with physicality. So what's your thought on that Oregon game? I
mean, again, you said it, but that play started, like the interception on the sideline started way before that. I thought Oregon was out of the game way before that play. If you're going to go out of bounds, you might as well just go out of bounds. That was terrible. His foot, and that clearly was an interception because his foot wasn't even on the white yet. Didn't come down on the white. That was a terrible interception. That resulted into a field goal, 23-0. But after that big kickoff return by Utah, they go 61 yards down the field real easy. That's when I knew what type of game this is going to be. Utah just marched down the field and the running back just walked in the end zone every single time he gets the ball. But the very next possession, Oregon gets the ball. He throws the ball right to the linebacker. A terrible read. His receiver is falling down. The linebacker is looking at that the whole way. He gets an interception, and I think he takes it back to the house. That's when I knew Oregon was going to lose the game at that point. Brown has seemed like he's inconsistent in throwing. It was one play they tried a slant, a crossing route, and that was shut down immediately. He doesn't have it doesn't seem like his arm is very strong. They don't go up the field that much. They couldn't get the running game involved because they were down 23-0 before 14-0 before you start. I saw the same Oregon team I saw in Utah. Basically, no adjustments, no game plan whatsoever. Come out flat. Come out, got punched in the mouth, kind of never recovered. This Oregon defense got shredded by the tight ends in this game on down the seams. The running game was very easy in the end zone, getting in the end zone. The quarterback did have a couple of big runs up the middle, and that was a big quarterback. That quarterback is pretty big as well. He's smart. He can throw the ball, but Utah had a field day on the offensive side of the ball. The tight ends was very effective for the Utah Utes in this game, and it was a lot of easy touchdowns in this game for the Utah Utes.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on in that game. I mean, it's just manhandling pressure and stuff like that. That was just embarrassing for Sandoval. If he's trying to go to Miami, and Miami is really looking at this game, and you see that he didn't change no game plans. Do you really want, even though he was a grad from Miami, played at Miami, you think they really want him to come down there and do what he just saw there? If he brings that same style of offense, not a physicality offense, teams in the ACC is going to kill him.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't even show up. That's 2 games. They didn't even show up. I mean, his team didn't come. He didn't have his team prepared to come out and play in none of those 2 games. I mean, again, do you actually, like you said, do you actually want a coach like that that didn't have his team to come out and play the last couple of games? Oregon probably is better talent wise. Again, Utah was they were the better physical team, and they just wanted it more. I mean, and this defense just didn't show up. This defense just hasn't showed up. They don't tackle well. They give up a lot of big explosive plays. Like I say, the tight ends got involved very well. On one drive, the tight ends caught every pass. On, I believe, the third drive. The third drive, they caught every single pass. And then a running back just ran in the end zone untouched all 3 times. Just unacceptable. No heart, no guts. I mean, no effort, no fight. I mean, they just straight got punched in the mouth and just never recovered. And I said yesterday, I mean, how would they respond down 14-0 if Utah have come out fast and Oregon yet to respond when they're getting punched in the mouth? They're yet to get up. They're yet to get up on a knockout punch.
Yeah, and you got other things you got to look at too in these games. And how about that Western Kentucky UTSA game? That was a pretty competitive game. It was a high scoring game.
Oh yeah, that was a pretty competitive game. I expect the UTSA to win this game, but it was a pretty good dog fight in this game, man. Like I said again, pretty good shootout. The quarterback from Western Kentucky, 577 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I mean, this guy is really good. And then the receiver, 179 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 10 catches. Both his top receivers had big games in this game yesterday. So again, got to give credit to Western Kentucky. They played their heart out. But UTSA wanted it more. That was an awesome bounce back game by UTSA. I thought UTSA definitely had the better defense, but we all know coming in, their running game was very strong, and they showed it yesterday again. 36 carries, 204 yards, 3 touchdowns. Harris, the second string running back, 11 carries, 81 yards, and a touchdown. All basically the running backs pretty much had a touchdown, but they dominated during the run game. Which is we knew coming in they was pretty good in running the football, so they did a very good job establishing the running game and putting Harris in some manageable third down situations, and also he made a couple of big plays in the air as well. You muted.
Nicholas.
Yeah, Sanders said UTSA needed this win after losing to a JV team last week. I mean, yeah, that's true too. But I mean, they had a good season. I mean, first winning season in a while at UTSA, and I think they did pretty good. So this could be an upstart for them. On the rise a little bit for that organization, that college. To get back on the map. They're trying to do something like Appalachian State does, become well known. Everybody knows about Appalachian State after that upset win over Michigan. So, but if you look at it too, the Russian leader McCormick had 204 yards in that ball game too. So I mean, it was a real played ball game. Really, a lot of yards by a lot of people in this game.
Yep.
So, but we picked some of the games last week. Well, we picked all of them last week.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So, do y'all want to see what Coach Dante did on his first pick'em here?
Yep. Let's see.
You beat me by one. You beat me.
My goodness.
Do you know which game put you over?
Nah. Which game put me over?
We were tied all the way up. We got to the Memphis game.
The Memphis game?
Yeah, Memphis won over Tulane. I picked Tulane. You picked Memphis.
Okay. So that's the win they got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're all up there, and that's the win that put you over.
I would have had Alabama if Auburn would have helped. If Auburn didn't help them out. Auburn helped Alabama out. Pretty much secured that dub last weekend.
So your overall record after 43 games is what we just saw there. So we're gonna see if you get me this week.
Let's go.
We got these 9 championship games today, and one conference game they got to make up. USC and California game is a makeup game, so they're playing that. Even though it won't solidify, it just solidify their bowl opportunities in this, these contests like that. So we're gonna get ready to start this Saturday pick'em game here. We're gonna break down every single one of them.
Okay, let's do it. I'm ready.
Even include the California, including the California game too. So we're gonna be doing all of that. As a matter of fact, the first game we're gonna go with the non-championship game, USC versus California. I don't know why they're really playing it because they're not gonna be bowl eligible. USC comes in 4-7, Cal comes in at 4-7. The best they could do, one team's going to come 5-7, the other team's going to go 4-8.
Yep.
So, does USC get the win today?
Okay, let me look at you said, does USC get the win today? Is they playing at Cal?
I'll give you a situation here. They're playing at 11 o'clock Eastern time, which is 8 o'clock. No, they're playing 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, which is 8 o'clock p.m. on the West Coast. So they're playing an 8 o'clock game on the West Coast, which is 11 o'clock p.m. here. They're playing at California Memorial Stadium in Berkeley, California. This game can be watched on the FS1.
Okay.
Both teams coming at 4-7. We don't see Lincoln Riley on the sidelines today because he doesn't take over to after the bowl game.
So much as I want to pick California in this game. I do not like USC at all because again, USC just got dominated by UCLA, and much as I want to pick Cal, I'm gonna just go with USC on the road. I think USC is probably the better football team, better talent wise on Cal. So I'm gonna take USC to win this game. But I know it's a 50-50 game. Both quarterbacks are very inconsistent. Keontae Ingram, almost 1,000-yard running back. Keontae Ingram, the transfer from Texas. He got overshadowed by Bijan Robinson, who's a good running back. And I hope he should be. Steve Sarkisian should be fired from Texas. Don't get me started on him. Drake London is a pretty good receiver. I think he's headed to the NFL this year. Pretty good big receiver that can catch the football. I like USC in this game.
Yeah, I look at it too. If you look at it, Cal hasn't bombed away on anybody except for Sacramento State.
Yeah.
So this whole season, it got hit with a 300-yard day from the future NFL starter Carson Strong in the opening week, lost to Nevada, and it
Mm-hmm.
allowed over 200 yards through the air over the first half of the season. But that's been about it. But the defense has been better. The offense that couldn't go anywhere against UCLA was able to run at it with with the break week of the before against Stanford. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you look at this Cal team, is not really that good.
Yeah.
Quarterback Chase Givers is able to have a decent day. That's what they're predicting. Do you see this game gonna be close, or you see it gonna be a blowout?
I think this game gonna be close. I think USC have the potential to let the game be close because they're giving up 32 points per game. That's a lot of points that you're giving up. You're not playing any type of defense. But like I say, they're allowing the yards they're allowing is 422 yards. That is a lot of yards they're allowing too. So um if the Cal quarterback can get in rhythm and they can run the football against this USC team, that can open up a lot of things for the California Golden Bears. But again, going with USC. I think they're the better team based on talent wise, but I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't blame if they lose this game. I wouldn't kind of be mad because again, they're giving up 32 points per game and allowing 422 yards a game. So again, they're not stopping anybody on the defensive side of the football. And then they're allowing they also passing yards they're allowing is 247. The rushing yards, everybody has a big day rushing against them. 174. That is too much. No defense at all on the no resistance on the defensive side of the football at all. So again, if Kyle can find a way to run the football and get this running game out, I think that can set up for disaster for USC. But I'm still going to take USC in this game.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it too, all this came up. This COVID issue. That's why this game wasn't played. Now they're making
Mm-hmm.
it up. We don't know why. They should just let it go. I mean, they're not really playing for anything. If it was a significant game for getting in the bowl game, I could see them playing it. But
Yeah.
you still got a 4-17 playing. The COVID issue, they should just go ahead and let it go. Not try to replay it. This game is just going to be a part of benefits. Try to get the players some extra time in. And stuff like that to complete their season. I mean, that's
Yeah.
basically what they're doing for that. So if you look at it this end, it's not really playing for the college playoff spots. You're not really playing for a conference championship spot. You're not really playing for a bowl spot. So I mean,
You're playing for nothing right now. You're just
I
playing
mean,
out there.
yeah, it's just thing. Now I seen a statement in here in my notes, and I come across it. He says, one guy says, "Why not? Why don't you just let Lincoln Riley go ahead and coach?" I mean, but the obligations of a coach, you just got to wait for the buyout, to pay for the buyout that USC did to Oklahoma. Oklahoma has to deposit the check, make sure the check, don't bounce. And, it's a real good, thing. And usually a coach, when they transfer over a team, they have a non-compete clause that they can't compete soon. They you can take a new job over until the new football season starts, which the new football season doesn't start until after the national championship game. So
Yeah.
that's a reason why you don't see Lincoln Riley coaching on the sideline. Let's see. We're talking about this. USC did come off a loss against BYU 35-31. They played a good game. The offensive line was balanced in that game, 200 yards rushing and passing. But the Cal defense hasn't been strong in passing game during the whole season. So
Yeah.
if USC gets that passing game rolling, it could be really bad for Cal in their defense.
Yeah.
So how does Cal get pressure on the quarterback? I mean, they haven't gotten pressure all season long. So now they got to generate some pass rush against a USC passing
I
game.
mean, you got to find a way to generate some pass rush, man. You got to find a way to generate some pass rush. I said again, I wouldn't mind them like doing like the Dolphins. How the Miami Dolphins play? They were 4-7. They blitz everybody. Why not? Why not go all out? You're not going nowhere anyway. You're not going to You're not going to a college football playoff. You're not in a championship. Why not? Why not do that and force your DBs to cover somebody? So again, you got to find a way to disrupt. Find a way to disrupt the USC quarterback. You got to just find a way to stop this running game. You got to find a way to disrupt this quarterback. So again, why not just go all out? You got nothing to lose. You're not playing for anything. Just go all out blitz if you have to. See if USC quarterback can beat you with Drake London in this running game. So again, you got to just find a way to get some pressure on the quarterback to disrupt his momentum.
Yeah, and that's too. That's Sanders came in and said, let's see them do this for 3 years in a row before we start putting them in the top 4 just because they undefeated like some loudmouth that'd be on there. Whatever that means. But that's all right. And then you got Eric says, good morning, y'all.
What up, Eric?
How y'all doing today?
How you doing, Eric? What's up, man?
So, that's the latest comments on there on the feed that came from Facebook and it came from Eric came off of YouTube.
Yep.
So I mean they were hitting our social media up and watching it.
Eric is a USC guy. Eric is a USC guy. USC. Yep.
Yeah, some of the USC fights last night, that one guy got even though we're a football show, that one guy got knocked out the first round.
Yeah.
In 15 seconds. So I mean, USC. But anyway, so some people got Cal 34, USC 27. They got Cal upsetting USC in some of these things. Okay. And then Cal's favored by 4 points. The over and under is 58. So if you're betting people, I don't know, you might want to bet that 58. You might want to take USC and the points.
Yep.
And that thing. But I think USC is going to pull this one out. I think it's going to be a little closer. I think it's going to be 27-20, the final score on this ball game. I think
28. I'm going to go 28-21, USC.
Moving right along here. Now we're going to start into our first championship conference game of the day, which will be American Athletic Conference Championship, Cincinnati versus Houston. Prediction, so this game here is set at 4 o'clock. It's at Nippon Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. So it's actually playing in
It's in a neutral site. Is it a neutral site in Cincinnati?
Yeah, it's playing. But it's still the home crowd team is going to be.
Yeah.
So they still got a little bit of a home field advantage, over Houston. We don't know how good a Houston crowd travels. I don't know. You might know a little bit better than that. I don't know if they travel as well. So it'd probably be more Cincinnati fans really in a neutral site. And I think that's the Cincinnati Bengals Stadium. I think that's where they're playing it. Mm-hmm. This game's on ABC. Cincinnati comes in 12-0. Houston comes in 11-1. If Cincinnati wins, they're in the college playoffs.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the key. That's what they're playing for. What's your outtake on this game here? Give me some insights on this game that you want to see out of Cincinnati and Houston game.
First of all, Cincinnati, they got to come out and realize they got to get on the board first. They got to get momentum. They can't fall down too early. They can't come underestimating this very good Houston football team. They got to get up ahead early. Desmond Ridder cannot afford to have the mistakes he been having, throwing the ball in coverage like he has been in Eastern Carolina. He struggled pretty much. The whole team as a whole struggled pretty much against Eastern Carolina. Now, if you see that same Cincinnati squad that played Eastern Carolina in this game, I think that spells trouble for Cincinnati. Now, Houston, you got to keep the game close. You got to force some turnovers from Desmond Ridder. You got to get pressure on him. And Pierce is a very good big body receiver. You have to know where he's at on the field at all times. In Houston, they got to strike fire with fire, man. They got to come out. They got to take advantage of opportunities. They got to get the ball in the end zone. But they got to force some turnovers on Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder has 8 interceptions this year. They got to get pressure on him. If they can do that and force some turnovers on Desmond Ridder, they can kind of spoil their chances. But what Cincinnati team is I'm going to get? Cincinnati played play better against solid teams like Notre Dame, SMU. But when it comes to a lesser team that have not performed, like Eastern Carolina, they didn't perform. So if you get that Cincinnati that played against Eastern Carolina, Cincinnati will be in trouble. And they have to get off to a great start today. They have to get off to a great start. And Houston has to force turnovers and keep the game close down the stretch. So that's what my hot take. That's what I'm looking for in this game.
Yeah, if you look at that, you know, some of the things too. You talk about South Bend. Houston didn't beat a Power 5 team this year. So I mean, you know, even though Cincinnati's not a Power 5 team, you're still not, you know. So Houston has a chance because they're not. If they're a Power 5 team, they played poorly against a Power 5 team this year. Then on the other hand, Cincinnati has played good. They beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame.
Yeah, at Notre Dame.
That was a good game. You know, do you see? You know, they're talking about the Houston defense can swarm, so if they can get Ritter in some kind of situation to get pressure on him to force him some bad turnovers. We've seen sometime this year that Cincinnati does when you get pressure on him. You know, he fights through it, and sometimes he doesn't do very well. And most time he does a little bit of turnover. He just sits down in the pocket and just sits away like what we're talking about. You know, like Brown did in Oregon. You know, can Ritter can they rattle Ritter? And that's going to be the problem. Can they really rattle him? And I don't think so. That's going to be the thing with Houston. But then, the Houston's offense is very dynamic up and down the field too. But can Ritter and them control? They're going to have to control the pace a little bit. I think.
Yeah.
I think they control the time of possession. And that's something that Cincinnati has not done all season long. Is try to control the time of possession. But you got to keep that realistic Houston offense off the field.
Yep.
So the best way to do that is to drive the ball on your defense, on your offense. And Houston's defense has got to force some turnovers in this ball game to get short.
And you said it all, like how I'm saying it. Houston defense got to force some turnovers, and Cincinnati got to control time possession. You have a good running back in Ford, over 1,000 yards, 17 touchdowns this year. Both teams got very good running backs that has been running the ball effectively. So the game is going to come down which offense can keep one offense on the sideline. And if Houston can be able to rattle Desmond Ritter and force him into turnovers like Eastern Carolina did. I think Ritter had 2 turnovers against Eastern Carolina. So, again, if Houston can force turnovers and if Cincinnati can keep that Houston offense off the field, control the clock, and control time possession, they got a good shot of winning this game.
Yeah, and also look at it, too. Luke Fickles came out and said that he's not worried about the time of possession for Cincinnati. He wants to go faster. But Houston also came out and said they dominated some of the clock at 30. They averaged about 33 minutes per game. So we can see a reverse roles a little bit here. Houston wants to keep the time of possession, but they can go fast and they can go slow too. And that's what Houston needs to do. They need to try to keep Cincinnati's offense off, keep Ritter off the field. And if they can average that 33-minute time possession and not commit any turnovers, and Cincinnati does commit turnovers, that could be a really, really upsettable thing. But teams don't want to come in and upset a ranked team and try to knock them out of the playoff. They're going to give Houston a motive in this ball game to come into Cincinnati, even though they're playing in Cincinnati, but they're not playing at the university, playing at the Bengals Stadium. It's supposed to be a neutral site, but it's really in Cincinnati. So I mean, you're gonna have a hometown crowd, so they're gonna have a big advantage in the crowd wise there. So do we see that crowd noise being effective?
Oh yeah,
because we know how loud that stadium can get during Bengals home games. So if that stadium is filled out with Cincinnati fans, so that's going to be another little bit of nuance too. The crowd could affect Houston's playability and calling cadence and trying to keep this time possession. So there could be a lot of penalties in this ball game also.
Oh yeah, I see the crowd noise being effective just because it's in Cincinnati. I see the crowd noise being definitely effective towards Houston, and the crowd is going to play a big difference in this game. And again, I'm going to be watching Houston much more closer because I got them as an upset pick yesterday in my predictions. I got them as an upset pick, even though I hope everything stays the same. I got Houston beating Cincinnati. So again, if Houston can force turnovers, they will be fine. But the crowd is definitely going to give Cincinnati a huge advantage and stuff like that. So there should be a very good explosive ball game in this game. But I got Houston winning this game by a field goal, 27-24 against Desmond Ridder in the Cincinnati Bearcats, knocking them out of the football playoff. That's a bold prediction for me, but the crowd noise definitely is going to be effective.
Yeah, if you look at it too in this situation here for Cincinnati and the the way they dogging, could that be a lot of pressure on them because they got to play for the college playoffs? Could that put a lot of pressure in this ball game for this thing? So that's gonna be a lot of issues here in this ball game. It's gonna be, can Cincinnati be penalty free? Can Cincinnati be turnover free? Cincinnati does throw some of the turnovers in some of these ball games. Sometimes in wrong times, sometimes in good times. But the best time that coaches say if you turn the ball over is not let the other team score off them turnovers.
Yep.
That's going to be.
Again, I say this all the time. It's just like in basketball, getting a series over with. Which one is more pressure when you're up 3-1 and you have to end the series, or when a team plays free. Like, I got nothing to lose. I might as well go out a lot. And just play hard and just try to keep my streak, try to keep us in the playoffs, try to keep it alive. It's a lot of pressure on Cincinnati. You're fighting for a playoff spot. You lose this game, you're thinking about it. You lose this game, you may not be focused on it, but you're thinking about it as well. It's in your mind. You lose this game, I'm out. The committee is not going to. We're going to be out. We control our own destiny in this situation. So that is a lot of pressure on Cincinnati not to turn the ball over, not to make mistakes, not to not to get penalties, to come out and almost play. Nothing is going to be perfect, but you can have the mental mistakes. And it's more pressure on Cincinnati than ever because you're fighting to get in the playoffs. Everybody's been pulling for you all year to make the college football playoff. You got to come out and show people that you're deserving to make the playoffs, not making boneheaded mistakes, not turning the football over. Houston wants to win this title, this American League title, but they already got one loss. They're not going to the playoffs, so they're going to come out free. They're going to come out playing. They're going to come out playing as they got a shot of going to got a shot of going into New Year's Six Bowl. So that's a lot of pressure on Cincinnati and these guys and these teams as well that's trying to make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, I got, we're talking about all this stuff, all the pressure and stuff like that, they say they said Cincinnati played like one of the second easiest schedules in college football. Besides the Notre Dame game and stuff like that. So, does Cincinnati really have to blow out Houston to keep them into the College Bowl playoffs, or are they going to be sticking around? If Houston keeps this game close, could that affect them in the college playoffs? In the college playoff race?
I think they have to kind of make a statement in this game. Depends on how Oklahoma State does. Because we didn't see that before. If Oklahoma State ends up dominating Baylor, you can make a case for Oklahoma State being in there instead of Cincinnati. If Cincinnati struggles or win by a field goal or win close, you almost got to feel like Cincinnati have to make a statement. But if they win the game, regardless, they should be put in the playoff. They're the number 4 team. They should be able to control their own destiny. But I would love to see Cincinnati make a statement to give a clear indication to the committee. Hey, they're in. They made a statement. Oklahoma State, you just played in the New Year's Six Bowl. You got to feel like you want to come out and make a statement. And just in case Oklahoma comes out and just goes through Baylor, which is, I don't think that's going to be an easy game. I don't think Oklahoma State will go through Baylor like that. But you got to have it too in your mind that let's come out and make a statement against these guys.
Yeah, and that's true too. teams want to make a statement and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
we're gonna go ahead and take a break.
do it.
You know, we gotta get our sponsors in here. You know, at certain times and stuff, so we can get their stuff. And also, you know, watch one of the videos. It's a merchandise video. You need to go. You can go to our website at www. It's right. It came across the screen here. We'll put it right on the screen. But www.asap sportsnetwork.com and click on the ASAP merch, and that'll take you right there where you can buy your t-shirts, your mugs, if you females out there, you can buy your little spandex pants and biker pants, and we got stuff for females and males. And if you want to go to the office with our ASAP coffee mug, you can buy a coffee mug too. So you got all kinds of stuff on that website. Help us out buying some of the merch on there. Stay tuned. You're listening and watching the College Breakdown Show on the All Sports Place Network. We'll be back after this moment.
Yes, sir.
This is the Fonx D Streaming Network. Register to come on our channel at fonxdnetwork.com.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
What did you say?
I said Kobe Bean Bryant has been overrated ever since he passed away.
Now, I'd say they could lose about 4, but I don't see them losing 5. You know what I mean?
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
Before I love that intro.
Welcome back to the College Sports Breakdown Show on All Sports All Place Network. My name is Ray Cruz and Coach Dante. How you doing, man?
Doing great, man. Doing awesome.
Yeah,
Happy to
you
be
excited
up
for
there.
this?
Oh yeah,
excited for
man.
this weekend?
Championship week, man. What's not to be excited, man? Championship week. Always excited to be up here, be a co-host up here with you, man. Gonna be doing this many more times. College basketball, but I'm happy. Who can't be excited about championship weekend this week and bowl weekend coming up and the national championship in January and stuff? Who can't be happy about this?
Yeah, if you look at it here, we're going to go into the MAC championship game here. Kent State versus Northern Illinois here. Let me get my pick. You said Houston is correct.
Yeah, I got Houston in the upset. I got Houston in the upset, a bold prediction.
I'm going to take the home team. I'm going to take Cincinnati,
Yeah.
I call them the home team since they're playing in Cincinnati, so they got the best record. So I think they're going to continue it on. I think they move on to the next one. So that's who I got.
I mean, I hope Cincinnati. I hope my stuff is messed up too, because I really don't want to see Alabama back in it. I don't want to see Notre Dame. I don't want to see a 2-loss team in it if everything goes the way I voted. I don't want to see a 2-loss team in there.
Well, we're gonna move on to Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. Is the setting for the next game is at 12 o'clock. ESPN. Kent State's coming in 7-5. Northern Illinois is coming in 8-4. What do we see out of this ball game today?
I got Northern Illinois winning this football game. You got a quarterback in Lombardi who's thrown over 2,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He's been very inconsistent this year. You got 30 points per game for Northern Illinois, but they're allowing 33 points per game. Both teams has not played great defense. You got on the other side 34.6. Both teams give up a lot of yards. So it should tells me this is going to be a shootout in this type of game by these high-power offenses, and it's going to be a lot of points given up as well. But I'm going to take Northern Illinois to win this football game. Their rushing yards allowed against is 217 rushing yards. So Kent State will have a chance to run the football and be effective on the ground if they could be effective. The passing yards is allowed for Northern Illinois is 230 and 35. So the stats telling me it should be all of a making of a high scoring football game and a fun football game to watch. But I'm gonna take Northern Illinois to win this football game.
Yeah, you see that, if you look at Kent State, you got their pass leader is Dustin Crum, who has 2,794 yards passing. And if you look at Northern Illinois, their most destructive is, you said Lombardi at 23-14.
Yeah.
So, I mean, right now you look at Kent State, they got a little bit better of a quarterback on that situation. But the rushing leader for Northern Illinois is only got 892.
Yeah, 892, 3 touchdowns. Yeah.
And if you look at Kent State, their running back's over 1,000 yards. They got 1,075 yards.
Yeah.
And that's Marquise Cooper. Then Dante Cyphus, the wide receiver, is over 1,000 yards for Kent State, 1,022 the leader. And then you got your tackle and Dean Clark, who's been pretty good this year with 91 tackles. And then interception leader for Kent State is Montez Miller. But if you look at Illinois here, Illinois don't have a 1,000-yard wide receiver. They spread the ball around a little bit more. And their traditional offense, their leading receiver is 827 yards. Tackle is C.J. Brown, the safety with 93, and then they only have one interception by leader. So they don't get turnovers on defense. That's going to be a little bit of an issue for Northern Illinois. They're going to have to provide some defense here, in this ball game. If you look at this receiving core, the next guy on the list is Tice Ritchie for Northern Illinois with 44 receptions for 540 yards. But they got another guy, Cole Tucker, who's got 458 yards. So the top three receiver right there could condemn. But then if you look at Kent State's offensive, production at the wide receiver spot, they got 1,000-yard wide receiver in Cypress, but Abram, the other wide receiver, is 621. Then they got another one at Nikeen Johnson at 508 with 47 reception. And then you drop off a little bit with Deshaun Polk, who has 290 yards, 20 and 22 receptions. So, but then if you look at the running game, their running backs are huge because they got next guy after Cooper, who leads with 1,075, is Xavier Williams, who has 719 yards.
So they're pretty good running the football. I can see Kent State pretty good running the football as well.
And then your quarterback, who also thrown 2,700 yards, also has 565 yards on 132 attempts. So they run the quarterback good. So now that's what we're talking about, the running quarterback situation here, because he can pass and he can run the ball. Yeah. So then that puts a double effective on Northern Illinois' defense.
Exactly.
So how do you contain a running quarterback? I get my session, if you're going to retain a running quarterback, you got to get pressure up the middle.
Yeah, you got to get pressure up the middle, and it's important to stay in your gaps, for the linemen to stay in your gaps, stay on your outside edges, and bring pressure up the middle. And you got to also have a QB spot as well, a linebacker just sitting right there waiting just in case he breaks out. But again, it's hard to contain them type of quarterbacks as well, man. Those type of quarterbacks right there, you got to make them beat you in the pocket. You cannot let them be effective by their legs and dictate the game by their legs. They can control tempo by their legs and control time of possession by their legs. That's like having another running back when you're having another when you're having a running quarterback, a part of that offense. So again, if Northern Illinois can do that, keep quarterback containment, if they can stay in their lanes and bring pressure up the middle and keep that outside containment so the quarterback won't break outside, then they should be fine. But you got to get pressure up that middle. You got to have a QB spy on them as well. So, again, if they can do that, they should be fine. It's all about being disciplined. You have to be disciplined. If you're on the defensive side of the line, on the defensive line, you have to be disciplined.
Yeah, if you look at two more situations here on that thing, Northern Illinois has only had 14 sacks all year long.
Yeah.
So I mean, their defensive tackle doesn't get too many tackles. I mean, you got double figure tackles, but only like 10 and 12 for a couple of people. The linebackers are short on their tackle. Usually the linebackers are averaging about 90 to 100 tackles. This linebacker crew's only got like 42 tackles.
Yeah.
So I mean, the defensive line is not getting pressured, and they also getting blown off the ball too. So if this happens in this ball game, Kent State's going to have a field day with Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
So how does Northern Illinois try to combat all this? They're going to have to put some blitzes packaged in. I mean, it looks like they don't blitz much, or if they do, they just get picked up by the thing. So, we're looking at this. This could be another situation of a Utah-Oregon type deal. One team is, dominating the other team and being more physical. So how does Northern Illinois get more physical if they don't play physical football?
You got to bring pressure. You got to bring pressure. Like you said, you got to find some blitz packages, man. You got to bring pressure, man. There's no way you can sit up there and let a team be effective, especially let a quarterback have a field day with his legs and get the running game started. You got to bring pressure. You got to make Dustin beat you with his arm. You got to make Dustin beat you with his arm, and that's the way you can kind of expose a running quarterback weakness. You got to make him beat you in his arm. You got to make him sit in the pocket. If you got to bring pressure, man. You got to force him to get the ball out of his hands real quickly. And if you can do that, you can be fine. You definitely can be fine. You can also bring more. You can also bring more on certain blitz packages. They've not some of the offensive linemen. If you're bringing more, they're not going to be able to pick up on every blitz package that you throw at them. And again, whatever you got to do to keep that quarterback in the pocket and contain the run a little bit, you should be fine. You should be fine. If you're Northern Illinois, but you got to find a way to disrupt Dustin in this running game. You got to find a way to make him be a pocket passer.
Yeah, and that's another good saying too. But if you look at it this way too, Kent State is the number one offense in the MAC. They're averaging 490 yards per game, and their performance coming off of 52-47 win over Northern Illinois in early November. So they already played early in November here, and they scored, Kent State beat. So now this is the same situation with that Oregon game too. Utah won, and they came back and distorted them again in that thing. Will this be another high-scoring game and where Kent State barely pulls it off again?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's definitely a high-scoring game. It's got all the makings to be a high-scoring game. I'm gonna take Northern Illinois in this game to win this game, but it wouldn't shock me if Kent State win this football game by dominating in the running game and that offensive line, just keeping Dustin protected and Dustin being able to use his leg. But Northern Illinois got to find a way to put some blitz packages together. They'll try to make Dustin uncomfortable and try to stop this running game. So again, I got Northern Illinois winning in the close football game. I think this is kind of can have the potential to be kind of like a shootout type of football game.
Yeah, I look at that too. To me, I got a little bit of affiliation with Kent State. My brother went to school. He got his master's degree from Kent State. Went to school at UNC Greensboro, and then went and got his master's degree at Kent State. I've been up to the campus, a very nice campus up there, and I was up there near Cleveland. So if you look at the population of Kent State here and this stuff is going in Detroit, Michigan area. That's the Illinois territory. So this could be a little bit of a home game for Northern Illinois, even though they're playing at Ford Field, where
Yep.
Detroit Lions play. So it's gonna be a lot of even though it's in Michigan, Illinois is closer to Michigan than Cleveland is. So does Kent State? I don't think Kent State fans travel as well. I don't know how Northern Illinois. I don't even know how big this crowd going to be. I mean, will they sell at this stadium? That's going to be a good question. We don't know how this is going to be, how the crowd noise is going to be effective in this ball game. Since it's an unusual site, it's supposed to be 50-50 crowd, supposedly.
Yeah.
But usually some teams get more fans in because they buy them off the third market sites and stuff like that, so they get more people in there. And if you look at it this way here too, if you look at the first go around against the Huskies, the Golden Flash came up with 360 yards rushing, 332 yards through the air. So they were a balanced attack against Northern Illinois. So Northern Illinois cannot sustain another balanced attack because you don't know what's coming at them. You don't know if it's underpass or it's going to come at them. So they got to make this team one-dimensional.
Yep.
And to do that, they got to blitz. And like I said, they don't blitz much, and you can tell because they only have 14 sacks all season long. So, I mean, you play, 12 games? So that means you maybe have 2 sacks in one game.
2 sacks in one game, yep.
Yeah, and then the rest of the time you're going to get 1. So, to me, for Northern Illinois to win this game, they got to at least have 5 or 6 sacks in this ball game. And I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how the kind of pressure they're going to do because right now the Golden Flash of Kent State are playing physical football. They got to match the physicality. And even though the score was 52-47, but they still could match the physicality of that thing if they still rushed for 360 yards and still passed for 322. So, I mean, the pressure was not getting on them. So, I mean, to me, like you said, if Northern Illinois can't get short field, Kent State's going to roll all over them.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
So,
I mean, if you're Northern Illinois, you got to just find a way to bring pressure. You just got to find a way. You got to find a way to force turnovers as well. That's going to be a big key in this game as well. You got to find a way to force some turnovers, but you got to find a way to keep the quarterback inside the pocket and make him beat you with his arm. You got to make them one-dimensional.
Yeah, and if you look at Kent State has turned it over just 10 times this season, but it's 1-5 when they're giving the ball away.
Mm-hmm.
8 of the 10 giveaways came against 5 losses, and it didn't turn the ball over in any of the wins until the key victory over Miami University in the regular season, finally to get that. So, I mean, most of their 5 turnovers came against Power 5 teams at the beginning of the season. So, I mean, if Northern Illinois didn't turn them over this time and they kept it close, if they got to get 1 or 2 turnovers, I think, to succeed their thing to get some short field against this Kent State team. So right now I have Kent State actually winning it, and I don't think it's going to be close. I think Kent State is just going to blow them off the ball.
All right.
All right, let's turn our attention here. We're going to go into the Sun Belt Championship with Appalachian State versus Louisiana. This game is at 3:30. The game is at Cajun Field, Lafayette, Louisiana. This is a home game. Sun Belt Conference plays at the conference, at the best record winners' home stadium. So they don't play on a neutral site. They actually go to the home stadium and play. So this is going to be a really tough game for Appalachian State. It comes in at 10-2. Louisiana comes in at 11-1. What's your take about this game?
I got Appalachian State winning this game. I got them winning this game. It's going to be a close ball game. Louisiana is a very good football team. They played Texas early on. They were close in that game for a little while. So Texas found the way to pull off. Appalachian State quarterback, 22 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 2,900 yards. They got a running back that's had over 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns. A receiver, Xavier Sutton, 59 touchdowns, 876 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Again, Appalachian State, the only I can remember about Appalachian State, that historic victory against Michigan. They both stingy on defense as well. They both stingy on defenses. On defense, they play very good defense. 18 0.9 points per game. That's pretty much 19 for Appalachian State. Raging Cajuns giving up 18.5 points per game. That they're pretty stingy on defense. Total passing yards for Appalachian State, 250, 214 for the Raging Cajuns right there. Yards allowed, they're giving up a pretty much amount of yards allowed. I think the Raging Cajuns giving up more. They're giving up more yards allowed, but they're right there in the same boat. And rushing yards allowed, Appalachian State doesn't give up much. They give up 113, and Raging Cajuns look like you can be successful running the ball on them at 143. So both defenses are stingy. I'm going to go for Appalachian State to win this football game.
Yeah, I look at these stats here. Bryce, Chase Bryce, the former Duke quarterback, former Clemson quarterback, didn't have a good year at Duke last year and transferred out and went to Appalachian State and turned his career around. He's 215 completions out of 337 attempts with almost 3,000 yards passing, 2,901 yards. His completion rate has gone up to 63.8, which is pretty good.
That's pretty damn good.
But I mean, he don't throw the ball for average. He's averaging 8.6 throw. His longest pass was 80 yards. He has 22 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, but he's been sacked 10 times. So I mean, if you look at this here, if you look at the rushing attack, Nate Noel has 1,036 yards on 184 attempts, but the next person, Cameron Peoples, has 145 for 764 yards. And then if you look at the wide receivers, they split the ball between three guys. Xavier Sutton at wide receiver, he has 59 receptions for 876 yards, 14.8. And then the next guy, Malik Williams, he's averaging 49. He has 49 receptions for 776 yards, but 15.8 per reception. And then if you look at Thomas Higgins, who's at 49 also reception for 705 yards, he's averaging 14.4. But then they have another guy who's averaging, 7 catches, but he's averaging 21 yards per catch. So I mean, they split these wide receivers out and they split some of these things, and then your running backs, they split it out between Cameron Peoples and Noel. But what's enticing about this game is, the most enticing about this whole game is if you look at Louisiana, Levi Lewis is 2,437 yards, but his best receiver is he's caught 33 for 350 yards. He's
and one touchdown. Yep.
Yeah. But then you got your other ones like Kyron Lacey, who has 21 receptions, 295, but he has 5 touchdowns. He's not even the leading receiver on this team. And then if you look at the running backs, they split between. They got the running game is the most powerful for Louisiana. And if you look at it back when they first played back on October 12th, that's when Appalachian State didn't find themselves yet. They lost 41-13 to them, but that's not the best work. The best work has come when they beat Coastal Carolina. Leading up to the Coastal Carolina game, and then when they beat Coastal Carolina, that turned Appalachian State around because since then the Mountaineers have won 6 straight. The defense has only allowed 17 points per over the last 3 games, and 14 points or fewer in each of the last 4. And the running game and the kicking, it's all back again. So I mean, they found themselves they peaked at the right time a little bit here to get back into the conference championship game against Louisiana. But like you said, you're playing in Louisiana Lafayette, and you're playing in their home stadium, so the home crowd is going to be effective there.
It's going to be effective,
But do you see, since Appalachian State's turned the season around, can you see the defense being a little bit more active? Because Louisiana is going to think about it. They went probably back the game tape and looked at them. It's going to be a completely different team. Appalachian State walks on this field today.
I mean, like I say, we thought the same thing about Oregon last night, and it was the same game that we saw against Utah. It turned out to be the same legit ball game, no adjustments made. I believe Appalachian State is going to make the adjustments. I believe this game is not going to be the same game that they saw the first game. I definitely believe they're going to come out making some adjustments. I believe Appalachian State won 6 straight, and they made the adjustments that they need to make. And Appalachian State, I believe they're going to come in with the right adjustments. They're going to come in motivated, and they're going to come in. They're going to win against Louisiana on Louisiana turf. I believe in Appalachian State. The quarterback has gotten better since he transferred out of Duke. You got some balance, pretty much balanced players. Their defense is pretty good. Their defense is way better than what they met them the first time. So I believe this is going to be a different ball game. I don't believe this game will be like Utah, Oregon again. I believe this game will be something much more different.
Yeah, if you look at it, look at it as saying, and if you look at what Louisiana's done here, they went up to Liberty, and the Raging Cajuns came up with 6 takeaways on the road. They went to Troy. The Raging Cajuns came up with 3 takeaways on the road. If you look at Louisiana, they have the veteran offensive line has failed to turn the ball over in any of the last 3 games and only lost the ball more than once in one game, a 28-27 win over Arkansas State. On the flip side, Appalachian State might take the ball away in bunches, but the offense has given up. It's up multiple times in 6 of the last 10 games. Can Louisiana stop turning the ball over? That's going to be the battle.
We gonna see. We gonna see today, and that's one thing you got to limit. And one thing you got to limit when you're going anytime. I mean, you're going into any type of ball game. You gotta limit turnovers. You can't turn the football over to give an offensive team a short field. So again, we're gonna see can they limit their turnovers. But if Appalachian State can force a couple of turnovers and force some early turnovers and result it into short fields, I believe Appalachian State can win this game, and I believe they will do that. And I believe they will force turnovers, and they will win this game.
I'm on the show.
I just believe Appalachian State will come out with this win, and they will start forcing turnovers. So we're going to see can Louisiana stop turning the football over. So, again, the key is for Appalachian State and force turnovers for brain pressure and, just come out and get off to a quick start, not to try to get down early. I believe this Appalachian State team is better than what the Raging Cajuns saw throughout the first week of the season.
So now we're looking at this too, and we know Napier is not going to be there. Napier was there when they played the first time. Napier is not there this time. How does the effect of a psychology of a team that when your head coach has now gone to the University of Florida, how will that affect this Louisiana team today?
I mean, I think it can have some input on it as well. Anytime you lose your coach during the season, I believe it can have an impact on a team. And we're going to find that out coming into this game. If Napier is going to have an impact, we will find out. I believe it could. It could have a big impact.
Yeah. If you look at that, you look at it too, and you look at everything that simplifies what we're looking at here. This is a very electrical solution on different things here we have on this take. So I mean, you got one Appalachian State's got a head coach. What does the other thing affect is their head coach is there. It's been there all season long. So he knows the adjustments. So how does these systems, even though they make adjustments on offense and stuff like that, but the head coach has to make the ultimate adjustment. So now if they don't have that same continuity, could that really, really affect it? If they make really bad adjustments at halftime, because you got to be a game management on both sides.
Yep. I mean, I believe I'll say it could. I mean, I believe Appalachian State, this game is different because their head coach is there. And I believe the coach is going to make made the adjustments. They looked at all the film they need to look at. And this Appalachian State team is better than when the Raging Cajuns played them the first time. And Raging Cajuns do not have their head coach. So they can take a value toll on them of the play calling in down the stretch situations. It can take a value point of the game. And it's going to come down to if can Appalachian State head coach out coach the Raging Cajuns, or can the Raging Cajuns outcoach Appalachian State head coach? And you're gonna see what type of play caller there he's gonna do, what adjustments he's gonna do if they're down. It's gonna be fun to see that.
Yeah, that's another good points we're making here on this game. Some teams, if you look at this, some people got this game. It's going to be a really close game, I think.
Yeah.
Louisiana 27, Appalachian State 24 is one line they picking. Appalachian's favorite coming in here by 3 points.
Yeah.
So the road team comes into somebody else's home stadium and 3 points. I could give them a little bit of a pet peeve, But sometimes when a head coach leaves, the team wants to show that they still can perform, whoever takes over. So that's going to be another key. But, I think Appalachian State's got an upper hand with the actual head coach who knows how to game management. And the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator's got to collab over at Louisiana. So we got to see how the players react to this, because sometimes when the head coach leaves, the players don't react very well. So that's going to be something you got to watch out with. So I have Appalachian State actually winning this ball game.
Yeah, I got Appalachian State winning this game close as well.
So let's move out of the MAC. Let's go into the Mountain West Championship game. San Diego State versus Utah State. This game is played at 3:00. It's at Dingy Health Sports Stadium in Carson, California. I think that's the new stadium for the Rams and the Chargers. I think that's where the game's at. It's in Carson, California. This game is on Fox. San Diego State comes in at 11-1. Utah State comes in at 9-3. What kind of game do we expect this game will be?
I got San Diego State winning this game. I got them winning this game. The quarterback doesn't seem like he throws the ball too much. 114 for 187, 9-4. Doesn't look like he throws the ball up the field. You got Bell, who's 209 carries, 80. He has a 949 yards, 8 touchdowns. Their top receiver only has 400 yards and 6 reception. They look like they're kind of a balanced team the way I look at the San Diego State team. You got, on the other hand, you got Bonner. I did San Diego State game. I think I did their game, the Utah State game. I believe I forgot who they played against on the first day of college. They came back and won that football game. Bonner, 32-10, pretty good. Tyler, 723 yards, is 5 touchdowns, and then they got a receiver, 87 receptions, 1,500 yards, 9 touchdowns. But again, San Diego looks balanced. When you go to the stats, San Diego State, 27 points per game compared to 32 points per game. They're stingy on defense. San Diego State defense only giving up 17 points per game, while Utah State only giving up 26. And again, I look at the allowed points and allowed yards. I mean, the yards, these rushing yards, don't nobody run the football too well against San Diego State. They're only giving up 78 rushing yards, and they allowing 235 passing yards. So they are very good run stingy defense. So you got to see Utah State run the football against this team. Nobody has been able to run the football, and San Diego State offense looks very balanced out from what I'm looking at.
Yeah, if you look at that too, you look at some key stats here. The sacks, San Diego State has 36. Utah State only has 24 for the year, which is pretty good high sack totals for San Diego State. So they play good defense and stuff like that. Yeah. What kind of concerns me is they look like they play a 2 quarterback system. Look at the stat. Look at Johnson with 1,091 yards passing on 114 completions, 187 attempts. But then if you look at Jordan Brookshire, he has come in with 51 completions and 99, attempts at 713 yards and 51.5. But Johnson's probably got a better arm. He's got better touchdown in interception ratio. Both of them got 9 and 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Brooks Shears got 3 touchdowns with 1 interceptions. So if you look at it here, you said it's pretty balanced here. Yeah. Jordan Bell is their workhorse. He has 209 attempts for 949 yards. He only needs 51 more yards and he'll be over 1,000 yards rushing for the season. So he'll probably get that today. That's another thing too with San Diego and out in California. They're only probably about 3 or 4 hours from Carson. I think Carson's right outside of LA. I think.
Yeah.
So, but if you look at this too, they don't throw the ball as much because the leading receivers only got 400 yards for San Diego State. But Utah over here, if you look at this is a little they throw, Bonner has got 3,242 yards, for a quarterback.
They throw the ball pretty good.
They throw the ball all over the place. And that top of receivers over 1,543 yards. But then you got the linebacker. This is what this is the key. Most football teams, you want your linebackers to be over 100 yards, 100 tackles. Justin Rice, the linebackers, got 105. And that tells me the defensive line is putting pressure on the offensive line to keeping people off the linebackers so they can be free. And that's the key on the front seven. You got to have your linebackers got to be freed so they can roam and make them tackles when the running back comes out of the hole. And if you don't have a hole to run, then you making a team one-dimensional. And to me, I think Utah State has to make this team one-dimensional. If they make them force them to stop the run and force them to throw the ball, I don't think San Diego State can contain throwing the ball all game long. I mean, if you look at the stats here, it also you're playing with Utah State, who's got the chance to attack and also play air-free football. I'd say so. Utah State plays fast. How does San Diego State withdraw that? I mean, by the running game, putting pressure on them, But if they get the running game stopped, this could turn into a shootout, and that's favorite Utah State.
Yeah, Utah State. Utah State need to do. They need to be a little more balanced. Like I said, they do run the football. They need to get this running game involved. If Utah State stop this running game and make both quarterbacks beat them in the pocket, because that is the key. You always want to go into every game taking away the run game. That's what you want to do. So by the statistics, you want to make these San Diego State quarterbacks step up in the pocket and see can they beat you. That's going to work in Utah State favor because Utah State loves to spread the ball around. They love to throw the football. That's going to work in their favor. And if they can come out and just stop San Diego State from running the football, they said Utah State has a good shot of winning this game. But also that brings it back to the San Diego State defense. San Diego State defense, they got to be disciplined. And they got to find a way to get pressure on Bonner. He's going to get ready. He's going to throw the ball all over the field. So you got to be ready to bring some pressure in certain situations to disrupt this flow. So, again, for Utah State, you want to try to make quarterback Johnson throw the football, beat you in the pocket, and stop the running game. For San Diego State, let's get pressure on Bonner. Let's make him uncomfortable. Let's move him out of the pocket. Let's force him into some tough throw situations and stop the run game. They're not running the ball too much. They're just throwing the ball because he's got 3,200 yards. So again, you got to be ready. You got to be ready to be disciplined, bring pressure, and you got to find a way to disrupt them.
Yeah, I agree there too. Some people got this game going to be San Diego State 26, Utah State 17. San Diego State is favored by 6.5. The over and under is 50. If it continues to score to be 26-17, they're going to be under. So I'll take Utah State and the point spread. I'll take Utah State on that because I don't think they're gonna cover that 6. That's 6 points. I think Utah State's gonna be. I think Utah State's gonna be better. So I got San Diego State winning, but it's gonna be closer than what people think.
Yeah, it's gonna be a very close game. I can see it being a close game.
So, moving right along. We'll do the ACC championship game, then we'll take a break, and then we'll try to finish up with the last three. With the SEC championship, we'll talk a little bit more about. So let's go ahead with the ACC. This is at 8 o'clock tonight Eastern Time at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. ABC. Pitt is 10-2. Wake Forest coming also in 10-2. Pitt's a more physical team. Wake Forest is a more spread optional team and fast-paced team. You got two good quarterbacks in Pickett and Hartman for Wake Forest. So, but you got a little bit more physicality on Pitt with the running games and stuff like that. And they've got a good defense. And Martucci is a defensive guy who came out of Michigan State, about 3 or 4 years ago to turn this Pitt program around. Yep. So, what do we see here with Kenny Pickett and Hartman battle at the two quarterbacks?
I mean, two quarterbacks, these stats, man, look great, man. I got Pittsburgh winning this football game. I got Pittsburgh winning this game. Man, the stats look good for both every statistical category. When I look at Pickett, he's a top quarterback coming into this draft. 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And you're looking at Hartman, 3,700 yards, 34 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. You got the running backs. You got the Pitt running back, 5 touchdowns, 580. You got Bill Smith, 557 yards, 7 touchdowns. But the receivers right here, Addison, 85 catches, 1,300 yards, 17 touchdowns. Unstoppable. That is unstoppable right there. And you got A.T. Perry for Wake Forest, who's also good, 13 touchdowns. And man, these are some awesome stats. You got both teams scoring high points per game, just right there, similar at each other. Pitt 42.8 and Wake Forest 42.9. And then you got Pitt have a little bit of a better defensive side of the ball, 23 points per game given up and 29 allowed by the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. And the rushing yards allowed 92 for Pittsburgh. They're stingy. And you giving Wake Forest, you can run the ball against Wake Forest, 209 yards. 209 yards. Both teams you can kind of open up the pass on them. But Pittsburgh defense look more legit than Wake Forest defense. And I think that's what Pitt's going to have to win the game on right here. The defensive side of the ball. I believe it got all the potential to be a high-scoring game and a quarterback battle, which is I think Pickett is going to win.
Well, Pickett's in the battle he's been mentioned in the Heisman. No, Hartman has not. I think Hartman has had a good season too, and I think Pickett's had a tremendous season. But if you look at the two situations here with Wake Forest playing when he played North Carolina, North Carolina did a lot of, got into that Wake Forest backfield a little bit and put more pressure on Hartman and made him a little bit frustrated in that game. And if you look at Clemson did the same strategy North Carolina did, put pressure on Hartman, and that's the two games they actually lost. But it also, NC State, they put a lot of pressure on Hartman too, but Hartman didn't cave. They played right with North Carolina State. So you had two games they showed the pressure that really affected them. North Carolina State pressure really affected them, but at the end, Wake Forest came out and pulled that game out. So I mean, against Pitt, the stats are pretty much similar. I mean, even though Pickett is throwing over 4,000 yards, Hartman's right there with him. But Hartman, one thing different about Hartman was their running games have been a little bit solidified. If you look at what they did against Boston College. So, I mean, if you look at that situation too, Wake Forest is, come off that Clemson loss, reverse it back to a Boston College win to put them in this situation. So I think this is going to be a good high-scoring game. I mean, if you go with the over, you could probably go with the over on this game because it's going to be really high-scoring. And you talk about Wake Forest's defense. Wake Forest defense will give up yards, but one thing you didn't mention is they have a great red zone defense.
Yeah.
Their defense is made to give teams yards.
Yeah.
It's a bend don't break defense.
Yeah.
And basically, when you get in that red zone, they tighten it up on you because you got all the your fields are really short, and so they can concentrate on the run. Your pass game is not going to really affect them because you don't have too many plays. You can go from the 20-yard into that backfield in the end zone. So you got the end zone really helping you defend on that. So if you're going to give up a lot of yards. The key thing for Wake Forest is not giving up the sacks against Pitt. Pitt likes to put the sacks. They got 46 sacks on the year. Wake Forest has got 24. So I mean, if you look at what you're doing here, that's almost 12-1 ratio there that Pitt's going to get some sacks in this ball game. And then another thing for Wake Forest is receivers and Ford. Ford he cannot afford to drop the ball as many times he did in that North Carolina State game. I mean, that dude had some open. He dropped the ball. The Clemson game, he was open. He dropped the ball. I mean, some key plays and key throws. He's not dependable at dropping the ball, so he's gonna have a better game against Pitt. He's got to get a lot of separations. So the defense is not going to be affected in this game. I think it's just going to be the offense who can score last and who's got the ball last in this ball game.
Yep.
So, go ahead.
I mean, again, like you said, bend and don't break defense is pretty good to have. I mean, it's kind of like you can get the ball down the field, but you would not score on me. And I like that type of a defense a little bit. But again, I think Pittsburgh has the better quarterback. I think this game is going to come down potential who has the ball last. Who pretty much has the ball last. That's what I can see this game coming down to. Who has the ball last? And can Pitt get to the backfield and frustrate Horman? Can he get to the backfield and frustrate him? Can they bring pressure on them and take them out the game early? If they can do that, they have a great chance of winning this football game.
Yeah, I can tell you that too. But another thing too is going to be the crowd factor because Pitt's got to come from Pittsburgh, and Wake Forest got to come from Winston-Salem. So that's a short trip from Winston-Salem to Charlotte, a longer trip from Pitt. So that's going to be a little bit of a factor too. And if Wake Forest gets their crowd in there, and a mixture of North Carolina State and Wake Forest, but we don't know how that's going to work out because North Carolina's a big place, and North Carolina fan base, North Carolina State fan base, and some of Duke fan base, but Wake Forest fan base has got to be the most productive ones in the crowd situation here. We do know Pitt's fan base does travel well, and Charlotte's a unique city to go and visit, so I think that's going to be very courageous here, and that's going to be a lot of added pressure to Pitt because play calling is going to be a little bit of a factor too if you get the crowd going in there. And that stadium, Bank of America Stadium, is very loud if you get the crowd roaring in there.
Yeah.
So, do we see a lot of penalties in this game? Wake Forest doesn't usually get a lot of penalties, and Pitts don't get a lot of penalties. This could be a fairly clean game. But what team ever gets effective with the penalties and turns the ball over? I think Pitt will have more short field if they force Hartman to throw the ball all over the place and get some interceptions.
If they get pressure on them as well, to force the ball to come out real fast and get turnovers. Yeah, I believe Pitt would disrupt the game like that. But I can see it probably being a little clean game as of so far.
Yeah, and some of the prop bets they have in Vegas, I pulled some up. They said it's going to be over 800 yards, passing yards between the two. So you can see two 400-yard passers in this ball game. The other prop bet was that Pitt's going to have about 5 or 6 sacks in this ball game. I don't know if they're going to have that many, but he probably have about 3 or 4. But I think one of the sacks will probably come in some key crucial situation because this is going to be a high-scoring game. I mean, they're already over and under right now in points is 71.5. Wake Forest is favored by 3 because they're probably playing in North Carolina. That's why. But some people say Pitt's going to win 44-38. That's going to be a 6-point win. So if you're going to take the points, you might want to take over the points in this contest. So you might want to take Pitt and over the 3 points.
Yeah, I got Pittsburgh winning this game in a close battle.
Well, yeah, you got Pitt, so I give you that, but I'm gonna take Wake Forest in a squeaker. I'm gonna take Wake Forest in a
Won't
field
be
goal.
ain't mad at it whatsoever. It could turn out to be that way as well.
I mean, this is not playing for no playoff spots. It's playing for a part in New Year's Day Bowl.
Yep. Yep.
But I
You'll see
mean, I
that.
don't think the national championship's in the Orange Bowl, so this will give. Wait for the winner of this will play in the Orange Bowl. So
Okay.
one will get a good bowl, and the other one will be in the next tier bowl. So
Okay.
it's gonna be a very common situation. This is leading up to that December. Leading up tomorrow for the big. Noon starts at noon. The college show on CBS. It starts at noon.
Mhm.
We might jump on in there when I get back from church around 1:30. So to
Okay.
talk about the bowl prediction and leading up to the bowl pick. So that's what we're gonna talk about. I gotta talk about with that with the wife. So
All right.
if you stand by, I'll send you if we're gonna come on or not.
I got you.
Let's see here. So we're gonna go ahead and take a break. My name is
All right.
Ray. This is Coach Dante. You're watching the College Breakdown Show on the All Sports All Place Network. We'll be right back after the commercials.
Let's get right.
This
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
What did you say?
I said Kobe Bean Bryant has been overrated ever since he passed away.
Now, I'd say they could lose about 4, but I don't see them losing 5. You know what I mean?
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
Welcome back to the College Breakdown Show on the All Sports All Place Network. I'm Ray with the Coach Dante. We have now completed 6 out of the 9 games here. We are now in the Power 5 conference. We just got completed with the ACC championship game. I got Wake Forest. He's got Pitt. So we're looking at the Big 12, Oklahoma State and Baylor. This is a compelling game here because if you look at the stats, their stats are very similar. They both can pass the ball. They both can run the ball. They both got high marks on wide receivers. They're a balanced attack. We know about Oklahoma State with linebacker Malcolm Rodriguez with 106 tackles. So if you got a linebacker that's leading your tackle, they get a lot of tackles. But, Terrell Bernard is a linebacker. He's got 76 tackles for Baylor. So you can see Baylor does get blocked a little bit on their linebacker. So you can get a little bit of running game going on. Gary Bohannon for Baylor, he's got 2,160 yards. He's a leader passing. The leading rush is Abram Smith with 1,366, and the top wide receiver at Tyquan Thornton at 875, and you got 3 interceptions by Woods. But if you look at over here at Oklahoma State, it's very similar. 2021 for Spencer Sanders. Julian Warren with 1,134. Tay Martin 154. And then, like, Michael Rodriguez has got the most at 106. And then you got 3 interception leader by Colby Harvell Peel. So, I mean, this game today will be played at AT&T Stadium. It's in Jerry World and Arlington, Texas.
World.
This game is on ABC. Baylor comes in. Oklahoma State comes in 11-1. Baylor comes in at 10-2. So when do you look at this ball game here? You see, we got similar stats and similar game plans here. How does this compel? Because Baylor's got freaking Larry Fedora as the offensive coordinator. He used to be former University of North Carolina head coach. He went to Texas as a special advisor. Now he's at Baylor as the offensive coordinator, and he has really turned Baylor around on the offensive side of the ball. And then you had the LSU defensive coordinator from last year. Andrea as the head coach, but his name has been rumored around to like Oklahoma. It's been rumored around down in Virginia too. It's been rumored around some of the open and top spots in Oklahoma. Is really trying to pursue for him. But I said like a Big 12 in the Big 12, but then he's going back to the SEC, and I think in 2023 if he takes that Oklahoma job. So to have this Baylor's defense and offense, work together to try to stop this Oklahoma State team, which really blasted that Oklahoma game. That was a close game, but that defense really came through at the end.
I got Oklahoma State winning this football game in a close, tough fight. Big 12 games is always close. They're always in a tough fight in these type of games. That's one thing I love about the Big 12. They're very explosive. You got Oklahoma State, who's giving up 16 points per game. Very stingy on that defensive side of the ball. Baylor is as well, giving up 19 points per game. The biggest thing I see right now for Baylor, they're giving up 120 yards. That's not too bad. And Oklahoma State giving up 90 yards rushing. That's like I say again, stingy defenses. But both of these teams can they can run the football, they can throw the football. They're pretty balanced. They're pretty balanced on the defensive side of the ball. But I got Oklahoma State winning this game. I think the quarterback Saunders is pretty a pretty good quarterback. Their receivers is pretty good all around. And this is going to be a tough, close ball game, man. I got Baylor winning this game in a tough, close ball game. But Oklahoma State. Baylor can win this ball game. They're from the Big 12. Big 12 is always a competitive conference. No matter if you have a losing record, each team play you tough. So I got Oklahoma State, but this will be a tough game. Both teams can do the same thing, man. They basically evenly matched.
Yeah, so it's just been crazy here, stuff like that. If he, like you said, the points the points per game is pretty low for both teams, and that, that's really saying something for Pac-12, a Big 12 team, where they don't actually play any defense. It's
no defense,
offense, but these two teams are playing actually pretty good defense.
Yeah.
So that's a change of characteristics. So, I mean, if you look at the battles of the, points and stuff like that, everything's pretty much familiar except for the rushing game. The running game for Baylor is a little bit more important at 227.4 yards and to 191.1 yards. Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at that, and then if you look at the passing game, it's still a little bit, the balance for Baylor is pretty much the same, but it's also balanced for Oklahoma State. But they don't average as much. A little bit 50 yards shorter than what they against this counterpart team. But if you look at the spread here, Oklahoma State is 6.5, 61%, plus 205 to minus the 20 against the spread. So I mean, if you look at that, the over and under is 45 in this one here. But it's playing in controlled climate stadium. I don't think they're going to open up the roof, but it is going to be 71 degrees there. The game's at 12 o'clock. It's a high noon game in Texas where you want a big showdown. Do we see the 10 paces, turn it back, walk 10 paces, turn around, and then shoot? Is it going to be that kind of a shootout, or is this going to be a defensive battle?
Yeah, it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a shootout. Big 12 football is always competitive. They're always tough. They're always a shootout. They're always entertaining. So I think this has got all the potential to be a shootout. I think this is going to be a shootout right here.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. If you look at some of the common opponents here, Oklahoma State beat Texas Tech 23-0. Baylor beat Texas Tech 27-24.
Yeah.
Some of the other common opponents they have here is TCU. Baylor actually lost to TCU 30-28, but Oklahoma State killed them 63-17. So if you look at some of the common opponents here for the
Yeah.
teams, it kind of shows you where we're at. But Oklahoma State had a hangover from beating Oklahoma in Bevel.
It's a possibility. Anytime you beat a rivalry, you could have a hangover because you haven't beaten that rivalry in so long. You could have a hangover and just be happy about that and pretty much take a day off today. But Oklahoma State, again, this is one of these scenarios that you have a lot of pressure on you. You're not trying to let this committee. You're trying to impress the committee. You're trying to come out and make a statement and prove that you're one of the best 4 teams that deserve to be in. Not Cincinnati. You coming in just to make a statement. So, I mean, you could get overwhelmed about that win because you haven't beaten a team in a long time. You could do that. But again, they got to come out and make a statement and show why they're one of the top 4 teams and not Cincinnati.
Yeah, I got you on that one. I mean, if you look at both teams last week, 37-33 was the final score to Oklahoma. And then Texas Tech, Baylor beat Texas Tech 27-24. So both games were close last week for both teams. So we're expecting to see a little bit of a more defensive battle, a little bit more of offense. I don't think the scores could be up in that high range. It could be a low-scoring game, could be a high-scoring game. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't know which team. It just depends on what team comes out here. If you look at Baylor is very tough, dangerous, and disciplined, but it might not have a quarterback. Gary Bohannon is at 100% thanks to a leg injury, and it shouldn't matter. So it's a little bit of a health issue for Bohannon for Baylor, and Oklahoma State won 24-14 in the first meeting, despite turning the ball over 3 times. So I mean, Baylor did get some ball turnovers in that ball game.
Yeah.
And so I mean, they only won 24-14. That's a 38 points. So I mean, a little bit of a defensive battle, a little bit of offense, and right there it shows me Oklahoma State has a little bit better offense against Baylor's defense.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the tradition. Can Baylor continue to turn over this time and capitalize? They didn't capitalize on the 3 turnovers the last time they played. They forced the 3 turnovers, but they didn't capitalize on points-wise. Can Baylor turn the points? Once the defense turns the ball, can the offense turn it into points?
Yeah, I believe. You're talking about Oklahoma State, right?
No, Baylor. Baylor turned Oklahoma State over 3 times and did not score any touchdowns or anything off the 3 turnovers.
Yeah, I believe they can turn it into points because last time I believe they played that game in Oklahoma State, they did get turnovers. So and they wasn't able to capitalize on them at all against Oklahoma State. So they gotta be able to capitalize on turnovers. They haven't been able to done them last time they played, and both teams committed a bunch of turnovers, and they wasn't able to capitalize. Only thing about it, Oklahoma State did, and Baylor has not been able to capitalize on them. So they got to be able to turn these turnovers into points. That's going to be key. And like I said, the one whoever wins the turnover battle is winning this football game today. Whoever wins the turnover battle, but Baylor. Last time they didn't capitalize on turnovers. They got to turn them turnovers into points. They cannot allow Oklahoma to stay in this game. You gotta take them out of their rhythm. You gotta take them out of the game, especially in short fields. If you get a turnover, you cannot be kicking field goals. You gotta get it. You gotta punch it in. Something they didn't be able to do the first game.
Yeah, I look at that too, but some of the things here, I see one, when I'm doing my report, Oklahoma State's offense was balanced against Baylor. Can Baylor live in the Oklahoma State backfield? That's going to be hard to see because they got to prove that here in the first quarter. If they can't get in that backfield the first quarter, that could be a problem from the second all the way and make some adjustments at halftime. And hopefully they can reverse it. But if Oklahoma State does what they want to do on offense and Baylor can't do what they do on offense, this game could get out of hand quick before halftime. So That's another thing that we got to look at here too on the situation here for the Cowboys. Um, this game is played inside of a dome, so we don't think the winds are going to be ineffective here.
Okay.
The Bears haven't allowed more than 125 yards rushing since the last 7 games since they lost to the Cowboys. So the defense has been playing better. Can the Cowboys get over 125 yards rushing today?
Yeah, I believe they could. I believe they can definitely do that. I believe they can definitely do that. So, yeah, I believe they can get over 125 rushing.
Yeah, and if you look at too on this thing here, it hasn't been blown out on the demand of college football players, but as a 12-1 Power 5 champion, will Oklahoma State get the call if Alabama falls in game against Georgia today?
It depends on how much they beat them by. If they're dominant, it's a possibility. If they're dominant, in Cincinnati somehow is not dominant, I think it's an open opportunity. They can get the call. It depends on how dominant Oklahoma State is against Baylor, and it just depends on how Cincinnati beats U of H. It just depends. So if they're dominant, I believe they got a strong case. And Cincinnati plays a close game, I believe they got a strong case.
Yeah, it's strange here and stuff like that. If you look at it this way here, Baylor's gonna have to be more balanced than they were the first game.
Yeah.
If the balance don't come from Baylor, Baylor's gonna be in some trouble. And I don't think the balance has to be needed for Oklahoma State because Oklahoma State's quarterback's a little bit better. If you watch the Oklahoma game, it was tremendous because at certain points Oklahoma State couldn't run the ball, so they had to go turn into that passing game. But on the other hand, if you look at the Oklahoma State defense, they were terrific against Oklahoma in that last drive for Oklahoma trying to go down for the game winning. But that drive that was tremendous. It got it all the way down. I mean, they got that one long run from Williams from Oklahoma, the 57-yard run, but after that, it shut them down. And they were right there at that breaking of the end zone. So the defense can play good in that 20 yards into the end zone, but don't bend, don't break defense type. But, Gundy has been done very well here this year is getting this team ready to play. So do we see any kind of letdown, or are we just going to see anything from Oklahoma State from that Oklahoma game? If the defense play like they did against Oklahoma, I mean, this game could be a high-scoring game, but, it could be a beneficial for Oklahoma State.
I mean, it's a possibility we can see it just like that. Again, Big 12 games is always tough. You're always going to get the best out of both teams, and it has a chance to be ugly. It definitely have a chance. So, again, Oklahoma State got to come in. They got to make a statement. They cannot come in with any type of slippage, turning the ball over. They have to come in making a statement if they want any opportunity of making the college football playoff. They got to come in and make a statement. They cannot come in turning the ball over, being sloppy like they were the first game. But like I say, this have all the potential to be a shootout, and definitely Baylor can play spoiler in this game if everything breaks right. If they can create turnovers and score off those turnovers.
Yeah, I agree with you on that part there too. I have Oklahoma State also winning this ball game.
Yes.
I think it's just going to be over a little bit over too much for Baylor to get it. I mean, I don't know. The crowd factor ain't gonna be a thing because Oklahoma is close to Texas and Baylor's close to the stadium too. So, I mean, it could be a split crowd. So the crowd factor noise is not going to be a factor in this ball game. I think they're going to be cheering for each team. It's going to be loud on one team's on defense, and the other team gets on defense. It's going to be even louder. So, I mean, it's going to be the same spread, same thing. I think the neutral field is going to give a good ambiance on this one. But I think Oklahoma State does come out and win this ball game very healthily here. So, so let's go into the Big Ten championship game here.
All right, let's do it.
That's going to be the Michigan Wolverines, not the Ohio State, but Michigan Wolverines after that big defeat versus Iowa. Now, this game is played at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. It's going to be at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. It's going to be on Fox regular network. Michigan is 11-1. Iowa comes in at 10-2. We know Iowa's got a big running game. Can put a little bit of pressure on Michigan. Time of possession. Iowa likes to eat that time of possession up. Michigan can eat the same thing. They're looking for time possession also, but they got a running game. They got a passing game a little bit better than Iowa's passing game. Do we see a hangover from Michigan from the Ohio State victory? I mean, you know how big that is.
I believe this is the game you see the hangover right here. The Ohio State, them beating Ohio State. I believe this is the game you see the hangover right here. On the morning show, I predicted Iowa was going to beat Michigan. This is the game you see the hangover right here. Iowa is no slouch. They're a very good football team. They're very well balanced. They're a very disciplined football team. They tackle well. They fly all over the field, and they can make this game really tough. Now, Michigan has a great running game in Hassan Haskins and Carmichael as well, but Iowa has a chance to turn this game ugly, man. They got a very good stout defense, and I wouldn't be surprised if Iowa come away with this win. I believe this is going to be the fallback and the hangover after Michigan. Jim Harbaugh was brought in to beat number 1 Ohio State and make the college football playoff and try to win the national championship. I believe this is going to be a hangover. Now, Spencer Petras is inconsistent. He is inconsistent, but they do got a good running game in Goodson. And Haskins is a dog. He's got 18 rushing touchdowns, and these guys are very good. So we're going to see. I would love to see Michigan in the playoffs after beating Ohio State. That's to sound like a relief to them. Both teams giving up 17 points per game, similar. Iowa is scoring 25 points. Michigan is scoring 37 points, and they're playing great defense. So this is going to be a very tough physical ball game, man. Who can force the most turnovers in this game? Who can create the most turnovers in this game? Who can control time of possession in this game? This game, I figure that's going to come down to, and I got Iowa with the upset, even though I want everything to stay the same, but I got Iowa as a bold prediction upset over Michigan.
You're picking some big upsets here in these.
Yeah, man. I'm not afraid to pick, man. I'm not afraid to do it.
So I mean, if you look at it this way too, you say they play great defense and stuff. One key I want to look at here is the difference in the passing game. The passing attack. I mean, if you look at it, 226.3 from Michigan to 177.9. Iowa's going to have to pass the ball. Michigan defense is not going to let you run the ball all over daylight. If they can make Iowa's running game be non-consistent, make them passing game, Michigan's going to have a way better chance of winning this ball game. And that's one thing you got to look at here too. No offense is anything special for Iowa. We know that they are more in line of their time of possession of football. Michigan is also reliable of playing that running game to set up their play action pass. So if Michigan can run on Iowa, and if Iowa can't run on Michigan, that's going to be a little bit different.
It's going to be a different ball game. Yep.
But also you got to look at Iowa. Iowa is the defense takes the ball a lot of way from fumble all the way to interception. So. We know what happened up in Michigan State with Michigan when they lost to Michigan State. They threw us a couple of key interceptions and whatnot. Well, I will be able to effectively turn Michigan over to get short field because they're going to need a lot of short field in this game to win. That's going to be one key for Iowa to win. So how do you see the short field working out between both teams?
I believe Iowa can force a couple of turnovers on them. I believe Iowa is they got a stout defense. They're very good. They're very disciplined in tackling. I mean, they beat Penn State when they were number 2. Also, their quarterback got taken up out of the game, and you had a dual threat quarterback coming in under pressure, under duress that couldn't really actually throw the ball like that. But this game is basically going to be won on the ground game, in the turnover battle. This is how this game is going to be won. So if Iowa can force Michigan into turnovers and capitalize off those turnovers, I think Iowa will have a shot of winning. But it's going to be really tough against a Michigan team that is balanced on the offensive side of the ball and in the running game as well. And they can force turnovers, and they got a great defense. So it's going to be pretty hard for Iowa. It's going to be pretty hard for Iowa.
Yeah, and we talk about different things here too, and we talk about the Hawkeyes. Iowa Hawkeyes is number 2 in the nation after pounding on every possible turnover chances. But the production slowed against better teams like Purdue, Wisconsin, Minnesota before coming back with 2 takeaways against Illinois and Nebraska. So if you look at the play of competition, Iowa had a lot of takeovers from teams that were like under 500, like Illinois and Nebraska. But with teams over 500, they had a lot of problems with Purdue, Wisconsin, Minnesota getting the ball turnover. And I think there's going to be another thing here because McNamara, the quarterback for Michigan, if you look at him, he's only given up 3 interceptions all year long, and he has 14 touchdowns. So
he's been taking care of
but look at Petrus. He has 9 touchdowns, but he has 6 interceptions on the year. So I mean, if Michigan can get them into a passing game, and they'll have a more opportunity chance to get more short fields than Iowa. And this game is going to be coming down to who's getting more short fields. I have a feeling in this ball game. It's not going to be a long drive. You know, some teams might have a sustained long drive against Iowa, but some teams might not. Michigan probably could get some sustained drives, but they need to have a little bit of a short field against this Iowa team. So if they can turn Iowa over, be a little bit of reverse psychology there. What would effectively that turn into Iowa? If Iowa can't get a running game, how would that confidence blow Iowa apart?
I mean, it can be a long day. It's going to be a long day if they can't run the football with Goodson. It's going to be a long day. Then that forces Spencer Petras to try to beat you with his arm, which is he hasn't proved that he can do that. He hasn't proved that he can do that. So it can be a tough game. It can be a tough game against Iowa for Iowa. If they can't establish no type of running game, then it's going to be a long day. It can turn into a pretty good butt whooping by Iowa. And Michigan can run away with this game in their sleep if they can't run if Iowa cannot run the football, this can be a pretty good butt whooping right here.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you too. This is going to be a certain things here on this chances here. But I mean, like if you look at it here, you know, McNamara is 183 out of 284 attempts. You know, Peaches only complete his is 137 out of 236 attempts. But you know, if you look at the Michigan running backs, you talking about Goodson for Iowa with 1101, but Haskins has been even better. He's carried for 244 yards and 1,232 yards and 18 touchdowns. Goodson's only got 6 touchdowns for Iowa. So if you look at the running backs, I give the nod to Michigan right now.
Michigan,
because Michigan has done everything. And if they get a game going against Iowa, Iowa's just going to be in really terrible situation.
It's going to be a long day. Like I say, it can turn into a spanking. If they get that running game involved and Haskins can run that football, and Cade McNamara will have to make a couple of throws probably every now and then, it can turn into a really good spanking. If all of that happened, it can turn into a good spanking.
Now, you know, looking at the point spread here, Michigan's favored by 11. Is that too high for Michigan?
No. I don't believe it's too high for Michigan. I believe they can do it. I believe they can do it. I mean, if Iowa State cannot run the football, I believe that point spread will happen. That point spread will happen if they can't do it. Especially if they got to start deep in their own territory about the 25-yard line. Yep, I believe if they can't run the football, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day. This game may get up out of hand faster.
Yeah, it's going to be all down to that, who's going to control the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
Michigan can control the line of scrimmage, so can Iowa. But which defensive line is going to not allow that? I mean, I think right now, if you look at the defensive line, I think Michigan's got a better upgrade in the defensive line.
Oh yeah, they got a better. They got a first round prospect. I mean, in Hutchinson, that guy was dominant last weekend against Ohio State. He pretty much wrecked that game against CJ Stroud. So look for Adrian Hutchinson to get off, man. That defensive line for Michigan is pretty good.
Yeah, and if you look at it here, and they're not even. I mean, if you look at the ESPN matchup predictor, this is not even close. They got Michigan 76.4% over to 23.6 for Iowa. So I mean, some teams are not giving Iowa even a shot. So I mean, it's gonna be a little bit different. But I mean, if the game was played in Iowa, I think Iowa would have a better chance. But it's playing on a neutral site, so the home crowd is not going to be really. I mean, both teams really travel good. So, I mean, it's going to be probably a split down the middle, 50-50 maybe. But, sometimes you get other teams, fans in there, they like to play with the underdog, help the underdog out. So that's going to be a little bit different here in AT&T Stadium because it's going to be a split crowd. It's not going to be really a mandated crowd for Michigan, even though Michigan fans does travel very well. Because when Michigan came down here to the Gator Bowl, I mean, it was more a Michigan fan than it was West Virginia fans down here. So I mean, this was in Florida, is way away from both teams. So this is in Texas, So I think we're going to see some Wolverines here. I think it's going to be close. I got Michigan actually winning this ball game.
Okay.
So we're going to be a lot of difference here than last week.
Yep.
So it's going to be some round robin things. So we're going to take another break here on the college breakdown show on the All Sports All Place network. We're going to be right back after these messages, so stay tuned.
What did you say?
I said Kobe Bean Bryant has been overrated ever since he passed away.
Now, I'd say they could lose about 4, but I don't see them losing 5. You know what I mean?
All sports, all plays. 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 365, we're making a plays. You're talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
This is the Fonx D Streaming Network. Register to come on our channel at fonxdnetwork.com.
Welcome back to the College Breakdown Show on the All Sports All Place Network. I'm Ray Cruz, and I'm bringing my co-host back in here, Mr. Coach Dante. We're getting to the brand new. This is the last SEC championship game. This is the Georgia versus the Alabama. And what does Freddie say? Roll Tide! I don't think they're going to be rolling today, though. I think it's going to be a big roadblock and big number 99. And Mr. Davis is going to be the forefront of here because I told you, one team does effectively very well is get the pressure from the middle. And when you get pressure from the middle of that offensive defensive line into the offensive backfield, it's a lot of pressure on that quarterback to roll away from. especially when Georgia's defensive ends play up the field to the running quarterback style. So that leaves when they roll out, they're right there to meet them on either end. So how does Alabama combat Mr. Davis, even though Mr. Davis has not been blocked all season long?
Uh, it's hard, man. Against the best defense in the college football, national college football league. Alabama is going to have to. They're gonna have to create turnovers to win this game. Georgia's defense is too strong. They're gonna have to create turnovers on Bennett. They're going to have to create turnovers, whether it's a fumble or interception, and start at short fields to give this offense a chance to punch it in the end zone or kick 3 points. Alabama defense is very good as well. They're going to have to blitz. They're going to have to bring pressure on Stetson on Bennett. And if they can force him to be uncomfortable in the pocket and they can catch interceptions and create turnovers, and they can start at short fields instead of starting at the 25-yard line, where Georgia's defense is really, really good. I believe they gotta take advantage, man. They're gonna have to force turnovers on Bennett, man. That's how Alabama can win this game. And they're gonna have to be smart on the offensive side of the ball. They're gonna have to try to issue some type of running game. And Bryce Young does have to win this game for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And the offensive line is going to have to block very good for Bryce Young, for enough for him to finally get into that secondary. The reason why you haven't been able to get to that secondary, because this Georgia defensive line has been dominated. Now, if Alabama offensive line can block Georgia, then hey, how long can these DBs recover this secondary cover these Alabama wide receivers? So that's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I agree with you in somewhat. Alabama linebacker Will Anderson Jr. versus the Georgia offensive line. Anderson is tied for the nation lead with 14.5 sacks. He has 30.5 tackles for loss, 8.5 more than any other player on Georgia. Georgia offensive line has provided quarterback Stetson Bennett. Last time they met, Stetson Bennett didn't have a really good game against Alabama. But it's a different year. Stetson Bennett has come in, relief of JT Downs has not relinquished that job back. But also this could be a tradition, because if you look at the last few games that Alabama and Georgia played in postseason, the Alabama starting quarterback has not beat Georgia. It was the backup quarterback that came in to beat Georgia the last two times. The national championship game when Hurts, they took Hurts out and Tagovailoa came in to relieve that game, and then the opposite end on the SEC, Tagovailoa couldn't do Georgia, so they put Hurts back in, and Hurts destroyed them. So I mean, the backup quarterback, they don't have a backup quarterback that's really to do Bryce Young. If Bryce Young gets in trouble today, that's not going to be in the back of Georgia's mind, because the next quarterback that comes in we haven't seen him play all season long, so we really don't know what he's all about. And if you look at certain things here too, on the same is the senior left tackle Jameer Slater. He has missed the last 4 games, but freshman Brooke Jones has gained valuable experience and fill in for Slater. But Georgia will have to be big and bad, because they got to keep Anderson out of the backfield. That's the only thing that worries probably Georgia right now, is keeping Anderson out of that backfield. They can keep Stetson not getting under pressure, not forcing anything, and let him work what he's been working all season long. This is going to be a long day for Alabama defense. But like I said, the other factor is who's going to block Davis and keep Davis out of that Alabama backfield. I mean, this could be a defensive battle. This could be like the Clemson in Georgia game at the beginning.
This could be a very low scoring game right here. It's going to have to come down to who can force turnovers, the field position game as well. This would the type of game where it comes down to the field position game and the turnover battle. Who can win the turnover battle in the field position game, and time of possession as well. But turnovers, you got to value turnovers in this type of game and field position game. Whichever team can get the most turnovers and create the most turnovers and get the best field position, that's who's going to win the game. So it's almost feel like, This is going to be a defensive type ball game. It has all the making of a defensive type ball game. So we're gonna see, man. We're gonna see how this is gonna go on. But this could be a very competitive defensive ball game right here. Turnovers, and who can force their team to get in short field situations, and field position battle will be a key.
Now, my next question is the freshman tight end for Georgia, Brock Bowers, who has provided the best production at 37 catches for 652 yards for a tight end, for Georgia. He has 10 touchdown catches and also leads the team and set the school record for tight ends. But wide receiver Trent Edwards set the school record for any position with 11 scoring touchdowns in 2002. But also, Carl Pickens is supposed to be coming back today. So that gives Georgia an added experienced wide receiver and probably one of the best speedster wide receiver on this team. And we know about Alabama's speedster wide receiver in Mejia, whatever his name is. But he's very fast. He likes that drag route, and if they get him in space, that could help some. But the only thing is, how will Alabama convince Georgia's defensive line to give him enough time? Because we have seen it time and time again this year. Georgia's defense is number number two ranked defense. Number two against the run, because Wisconsin has a better running defense type deal. But Georgia is number one against the pass and getting sacked. So that's going to be the question. How will they keep Young up, and how will they produce some blocking to try to keep the pressure from up the middle?
First of all, you got to kind of move them up out of the pocket a little bit, and you got to kind of run the football. You got to the only way you can do that, you got to run the football. You got to be able to do some screen plays. But you got to be able to run the football. That's the only way you can keep, Bryce Young upright. Just got to establish the run game a little bit to keep that defense off of Bryce Young, to keep them from blitzing a lot and coming disrupting the quarterback. You got to run the football. So, or if you're throwing the ball, you got to keep the running back in the backfield. You got to keep the running back in the backfield for an extra blocker, or you got to chip block with the tight ends or the running back regardless. So that's how you can keep Bryce Young upright.
Yeah. And another thing you're looking at too, if people look at the tail of the tape, the two quarterbacks, it's going to be, oh, wow, Bryce Young is way better than Stetson Bennett. But you got to understand, Stetson Bennett didn't play all season long. He came in, sparingly, came in at the midpoint of the season to turn, the Georgia, with JT Daniels went down with an injury. He finally came in, and he has not relinquished since. For that short stint, he has 119 completions out of 183 for 1985. But if you look at Bryce Young, he's 288 at 14 with 39.01. But that's an experiment. If people are looking at, they're going to tear him up in the passing game. But you can't believe that, because Stetson Bennett didn't play the whole entire season. He came in within like the fourth or the fifth game of the season. So he has not played a full season this year. So that's the number that's been telling. But look at the rushing disparity. Robinson Jr. for Alabama is 207 carries for 1,016 yards. But look at Georgia. They split their carries up between three running backs. I mean, they still have the number, but they don't have the individual numbers as Robinson, because Robinson is the workhorse for Alabama. So, how does Alabama stop the three-headed monster in the running game?
Like I say, they're going to run the football. So you might well just stack the box up if you know that they're going to run the football. You got to convince that Bennett can beat you with his arm. So you got to load the box up, stack 8 in the box, and bring some extra help defenders to come up on the line of scrimmage to stop the run. You can't miss tackles against these guys. You got to get them down in the backfield. So basically, you just stack the box up against these guys. They're going to want to come out strong, running the football no matter what. No matter how much they rotate backs, you got to expect the run game. That's probably the way they can beat you. They want to come out, run the football to open up those big wide receivers in that tight end. So just stack the box with 8 in the box. Make Bennett beat you with his arms. You got good enough cornerbacks to hold down the fort and see can Bennett beat you with his arm, but I will stack the box to stop those running backs and make Bennett beat me with his arm because you got good enough cornerbacks, you got a good secondary, you got to trust your secondary.
What should I name my best pet?
Yeah, I agree with you there. If you look at the offensive leader, Alabama's number 2 in the offensive stats as a team for 492.2 in the SEC. Georgia is part of it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're 6 in the offensive category, in that. But if you look at the defensive thing here, they're number 1, number 2 in the conference. But Georgia has given up the least amount of yards. They only given up 2,765 yards, 234 yards a game to Alabama's 294.3. But look at the passing. Georgia's only given up 1,818 yards, 151 yards percent for passing. So I mean, teams can run on Georgia, but they can't pass on Georgia. That's the problem. Because if Georgia's going to stop that running game, they're going to make Young pass, but then that's going to cause pass rush because I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. If you make Alabama one-dimensional, that's going to send the dogs after them. And when the dogs go after you, they're gonna solidify your team, and that's gonna be the thing. And Nick Saban is probably hampering his team, saying, "Hey, look, they got that dominant guy. We can't force him up the middle." So how do they really contain him? Because he hasn't been contained all season long. I mean, Florida did a pretty good job on him, running away from him, trying to chip him a little bit in the pass, but he still made his known factor there by pushing the guy. He might not get a lot of sacks, but he's pushing his guy back into the backfield. So how did to keep him not getting into the backfield like that, they're going to have to double team, triple team, but you seen that double team is not really working. The triple team's not really working. They try to cut him. He jumps right over top of him, and he's agile to be on his feet. This Davis guy is big and huge, and he's going to be a key factor today. And how does Georgia stop Anderson, who's going to be a key factor for them, and if they can get the pass rush for Alabama? So you got two defenses going. This could be a 3-0 game.
Oh yeah, man. Like I say, you can't stop anybody that can do something like that, man. That's a grown man doing all of that. You can't stop nobody. You got to just hope you can contain them. You can bring all the doubles you want at this guy. I mean, you just gotta trust your guys that you can double this guy to keep this guy off. But then again, it's going to open up everybody else. It's going to open up the linebackers as well. So it's against a guy that good like that, it's nothing really you can do about a guy that's good like that. It's just opening up everybody else to eat as well.
Now we're talking about something here interesting here about how they got a 3-headed monster running back and stuff like that. But how about this scenario? And it could work against Georgia. It could work against Alabama. If Stetson Bennett doesn't get the ball moving, they got JT Daniels on the bench, and he comes in, and all of a sudden Alabama's not prepared for him. And he's got a bigger arm than Stetson Bennett, so they can go a little bit deeper with that. So if they're at halftime and they're down and they decide to want to make a change, can we see JT Daniels come in and really give them a big lift and do what Alabama did to Georgia and beat them with a backup quarterback coming in?
I mean, yeah, it's possible. It's possible you can do that. The one thing is hard to do is game plan for someone that you don't actually have film on, that you haven't actually saw that much. That's the hardest thing to do. To game plan for. You haven't actually saw JT Daniels that much, so it's hard to know what the guy got and know what he can do. So that's another thing that's in place. Like Tua, you haven't saw him play before he got taken out of the game, so you don't know what he's pretty much all about. You don't have the film on him. You just don't know what he's about, and he comes in, he rips Georgia. Same thing with JT Daniels. You haven't seen him too much to know what he's got, so that could give Georgia an extra spark if Stetson Bennett is struggling in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, and we've seen a lot of stuff that goes on, and and stuff like that. We've seen a lot of issues and the way this thing goes. If you got Cook is the speedster out of all of them. He can run with power, but he's the more of a speedster. So now, if you got to get on the edge of Alabama, and Alabama don't lose that containment on that edge for Cook, can Cook be really a dangerous factor than Zaire White and McIntosh comes in too? But then they got a fourth guy here too. Actually, I'm gonna read this out real quick. Zaire White has 128 attempts. He's the workhorse really for them. But then the next guy comes in, Cook. He's got 90 attempts. McIntosh comes in. He's got 50 attempts. They got Milton comes in. He's got 49 attempts. And then you got Bennett, the quarterback, who can also run. And then you got an Edwards guy who has 45 attempts for 177 yards. So, I mean, Georgia has rushed for 2,425 yards rushing. And they have passed for 2,883 yards. So they are a real balanced team. And you can't really pinpoint what you want to take away. I mean, if you take away him, Bennett's going to eat you alive, or Daniels could come in and eat you alive. I mean, how does Alabama play straight up defense? I mean, you can't put a man in the box, try to stop the run, because if you leave one-on-one, that wide receiver is going to kill you.
I mean, at some point, you have to know it's coming. At some point, you have to trust your secondary at some point in the game. I mean, you still can have a safety over the top. The only thing that you're gonna have to, the only thing that's gonna probably be one-on-one is the tight ends and the slot receiver, but you can still have your safeties kind of over the top lurking. Again, you still have that. So you have to try to stop one thing or the other. It's either you're gonna stop the run or you're gonna make Stetson Bennett make a perfect throw and beat you. And not all the time. If a person is under duress, they're getting the ball out their hands quick. They're rushing because they don't want to get sacked or get a forced fumble. So what the first thing you're gonna do, you're gonna get the ball out your hands real quick. You're gonna have to rush a throw or something like that. So you can still have a safety over the top. You still have safety over the top a little bit. But your main thing, if you're Alabama, you gotta try to stop this 3-headed, 4-headed monster. You gotta try to contain this. And you're just gonna have to trust. You're just gonna have to trust your DBs and your secondary and to communicate and say, hey, Stetson Bennett is gonna have to make a perfect throw. He's gonna have to make great throws under duress. If he does throw the ball, we're gonna pressure him. He's gonna have to make great throws under duress, and that's what he's gonna have to do. If he makes a great throw, and the receiver make a play, I'll live with it. But you would not beat me on the ground.
Yeah, I agree with that too. But the simple melody here is you have two wide receivers for Alabama, who's got 61 and 90 receptions for over 1,000 yards. You got two wide receivers there, but you can pinpoint. Georgia can pinpoint that defense on those two wide receivers and make somebody else beat you. But Georgia, you can't pinpoint one wide receiver on the team because each wide receiver has over 37. Bowers has got the most at 37 receptions, but McConkey with 26, Burton with 20. Mitchell with 24, McIntosh with 14, Jackson with 13, with 174 for Jackson, 182 for McIntosh, Mitchell with 334, Burton with 376, McConkey with 395, and then 650. So how does Alabama pinpoint what receiver they're going to try to stop? I mean, Bowers is the biggest one, but then you got McConkey and them who still got over 26 receptions in this. And they're very reliable reception. I mean, McConkey's receptions are coming through at key moments of the time, deep down the field and setting it up for Bowers touchdowns. I mean, how does Alabama consistently have to stop some of these wide receivers? And their corners are not very good this year.
Oh, you said how can Alabama pinpoint these receivers? I mean, you're gonna have to pretty much. You don't want to give them so much. You don't want to give them so much cushion for some easy slant routes or anything. You want to kind of for Alabama's defense, you want to kind of have a safety over the top. If you don't trust your defensive backs, you're gonna have to put safeties over the top. But then again, that opens up that Georgia run game as well. If you can't stack the box against them, but again, you're gonna have to put a safety over the top if you don't trust your secondary like that. You just put a safety over the top of both of the receivers, and just like I say, you're gonna have to find a way to trust your corner, your secondary. So again, Stetson Bennett is gonna have to make some great plays. He's gonna have to at some point beat Alabama with his arm, and so the way you pinpoint that, you're gonna have to put a safety over the top to try to contain these receivers. That's how you're gonna have to do it. You're gonna have to play in Stetson Bennett. You're gonna have to make some great throws to beat Alabama's defense.
Yeah, and if you look at some of the things here too, I'm going through some of the tackles and stuff like that through the defensive side for Georgia. I mean, Georgia's defense is just tremendous. They got nobody where we see linebackers at. They have two people that equal up over 100 tackles. So they're getting really linebacker core, but some of the linebackers they got is because that one guy got suspended for outside troubles. So I mean the other linebacker come in hasn't played that much. So I mean that's why some of their tackles are screwed in the linebacker core. But I mean these linebackers, I mean they got 1, 2, 3, 4 guys that are over a total of 57, 56, 54, 47, and 38 tackles as a linebacker crew. 32 for some of the other ones. I mean, they got 5 linebackers that play in these ball games. So you're not going to really get them. You're not going to get Georgia's defense tired. I mean, Alabama likes to wear you down. But if you got 5 or 6 linebackers who've been playing, who's making over 30 tackles, 47 tackles, 54 tackles, they get in there and they tackle really good. So I mean, they're interchangeable parts. I mean, how do they wear down Georgia defense when they got linebackers that can come in, defensive tackles have been playing, and the DBs have been off and on, in and out. I mean, they got a deeper team on that defensive side. So Alabama can't wear them down. This is going to be a tough game for Alabama.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, and that shows how much depth that Georgia's got in that running back room and in that linebacking room too, man. That shows you they have a lot of depth in this game. They have a lot of depth.
Yeah, and we talk about some people tease Alabama having a 5 to 6 team depth, all this stuff replenish. But Kirby Smart has taken that philosophy to Georgia, and now Georgia is starting to compete with Alabama in the recruiting class, and they're starting to get deep on the defensive side and offensive side. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, they're gonna have a good quarterback here on out in Bryce Young, and Georgia's gonna have to look for one, pretty soon to come in because Stetson Bennett is a senior, and I think JT Daniels is a senior. So, I mean, they're gonna have to replace a quarterback. They got a good quarterback supposedly coming in next year, so they're gonna be on that end like Alabama is this year with the freshman quarterback. So now, what do we see from Georgia is gonna have to worry about? We have seen we have seen Anderson on the Alabama defense get tired, and they have to take him out at certain points. But then when they take him out, Alabama's defense gives up a lot of stuff. But if you see what Auburn did against them with a one-legged quarterback, basically in that last third and fourth quarter, he got hurt in that third quarter, and he was basically walking, limping, and all this stuff. But still, they didn't take advantage of that because they took him in overtime to beat Auburn. And Auburn took a Georgia philosophy and making that defensive tackle come up the middle, and that's what Alabama's playing on a makeshift offensive line. How does that really affect the mindsets of Alabama? Nick Saban, knowing that his offensive line cannot stop Auburn's defense come up the middle. How do you expect to stop Georgia's defense come up the middle?
I mean, Alabama is not the same team they used to be years ago, man. I'm used to seeing this dominant Alabama team. They have not been dominant at all against their conference at all. I mean, if the running back would just get down on the ground instead of going towards the sideline and letting DB pull them out of bounds, we wouldn't be talking about this situation right now today. This will be a different. This will be a different probably opponent in this game. Alabama would have lost that game if their running back went down on the ground and made them burn that timeout. So again, it took. And then you had a beat up quarterback. You couldn't take advantage. It had to go to a 2-point conversion contest to for Alabama to win that game, basically. So again, I think Georgia is going to win this game. I got Georgia winning this game and putting Alabama up out of the playoff for good, unless something like I'm saying dramatically happened today. Georgia's better all around. They're better all around defensively, offense. I mean, you pinpoint Alabama, but I mean, hey, Georgia off defense is just that good, and it's nothing Alabama probably can do about this. Alabama's just gonna have to force turnovers. You're gonna have to force pressure Stinson Bennett. You're gonna have to stop the running game. You're gonna have to force a couple fumbles. You're gonna have to win in short field situations, and the battle comes. Is gonna the battle turning point of both teams. Who can create the most turnovers? Who can win a turnover battle and get their teams in short field situation? Whoever does that wins this game. But I got Georgia winning this game. They're completely the better team in this game.
So you got Georgia winning this game. And if our president of this network, Freddie, I'm gonna bring it up here. I'm gonna bring it up here in a minute. I'm gonna bring it right here. You know, that's Freddie right there. You know, so I'm gonna bring this up and I'm gonna hit this button. I bet you he's saying roll tide. So that's what is this what Alabama fans? This is what Georgia fans gonna hear in this game all day long. If Alabama stays in here, pay attention.
Yep, he said roll tide. Yep.
So, so we brought Freddie up there to show him the roll tide. And one thing about Freddie is he likes the Lakers. He likes all these winners. I mean, except for the Giants.
Yeah.
So he has Green Bay for that. On the backside to replace the Giants. But anyway, he did. So I mean, will we hear that all day, or will we hear the Bulldogs shutting that roll tide chant up? I mean, I'm getting sick and tired of hearing that roll tide chant.
You're gonna see the Bulldogs, Georgia Bulldogs, shutting it up today. You're gonna see the Bulldogs shutting it up. I got Georgia winning this game. You're gonna see the Bulldogs put an end to Alabama playoff hopes.
Yeah, I have Georgia winning this game also. I'm gonna tie this up here. We got about 3 minutes before the Oklahoma State Baylor game and the Kent State and Northern Illinois game. You can catch the Kent State Illinois game at 12 o'clock on ESPN, and you can catch the Baylor game and Oklahoma State game on ABC at 12. So that's the first two games, and then the 3 o'clock will be San Diego State on Fox against Utah State. At Appalachian State comes on at 3:30 on ESPN against Louisiana. Georgia and Alabama will be on CBS at 4 o'clock. Number 21, Houston against number 4, Cincinnati at 4. That will be on ABC. Number 2, Michigan versus number 13, Iowa. That will be on 8 p.m. at Fox. And number 15, Pitt versus number 16, Wake Forest. That will be 8 p.m. on ABC. And USC at California will be on FS1. So today I'll have my computer screens on ABC and ESPN at 12. And ESPN at Fox, and Appalachian State at 3 and 3:30, and then I'll have 2 screens on for the Alabama and Houston game, and we might come on and call that Georgia Alabama game. I'm not for sure, but I'll let you know around about 2 o'clock.
I gotcha.
So, we got less than a minute away here, so we're gonna carry you off to get you ready. Go get your popcorn, get your thing. This is conference championship week on college football. We're getting to the nitty gritty on tomorrow at noon. We'll probably come on about 2 o'clock. I think the picks will be in about somewhere between 4 and 4:30. So we'll probably come on about 2 o'clock and talk about the bowl protection and see if we got any updates on who's going where. We'll cover all the bowls, and then we'll see who's going to be in the college playoffs this time. So this is Ray, Coach Dante. This is the College Breakdown on the All Sports, All Plays Network. And have a good day.
Have a good day, guys.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.